Mhm. Let me make sure to mute the audio on the other end. So, welcome, people. I'm here joined by Gray, that I forgot to tag him, but I should try.
And what can you do? People aren't here for me. They want to know about
True.
Roadhouse. Everybody wants to know about
Yes.
Roadhouse.
So, continuing this, it's like movies I like, and X-Men 97, the third episode was done. We're about to enter some, I guess it's going to be like multi-part stuff to it as well, because apparently the whole episode listings got leaked or put out. But we are going to cover X-Men 97 episode 3
Hell
and
yeah.
Roadhouse. So,
The one and only. Well, I
yeah,
guess the many now. I guess there's at least two.
2, yes. I mean,
We try and forget about the actual Roadhouse too, but fair enough.
no,
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I think you know a little bit more about these X-Men. I don't know what you want to call it, like abridged arcs than I do. They're throwing a ton of these into all of these episodes.
it's the structure I called it. I kind of figured how they were going to do it in the first place. I'm like, how are they going to do this? To prepare people, and it's funny compared to like Dane and other people who said this is just grifting, or others I've heard about X-Men 97. Like,
X-Men 97 is grifting?
apparently he's like saying weird, because when I covered Dane's thing, he's like, no one covered Dune Part 2. I swear to God, like, do you
What?
ever no,
Everyone's
no.
saying it's like the biggest film of the year. And I don't know,
God.
looking at everything that's still left to come out, like I don't know if there's going to be a bigger
You know
one.
what's funny?
Granted,
Bob is
it hasn't made a billion, but it's still got legs, man.
so
Like
here's the
I
thing,
think that's
like,
weird.
here's the thing. Bob and them said, like, they think like in the Sweet Baby Inc. thing is when I talked about it, it's like they called it astroturfing. And I'm like, and he's like, who who hasn't was waiting for Doom Part 2?
For Dune Part 2, like everyone that saw Dune Part 1, I think, because it really hinges on that, them landing, them sticking that landing on the second part. If they screw
Yeah.
up the second part, retroactively that ruins the first one. And
But
I loved the first one. I just wanted more characterization, which I think you'd get if it was longer, but
yeah,
goddamn, that was beautiful. It's every frame is a painting. And then everything that they did with the first one, he just upped so much in the second one.
I will
For
say
me, he could not
though,
have stuck the
I
landing better.
will have to say, and it's funny because it's Bob and Eric who said no one reviewed He-Man Revelations. I mean Revolution. Yeah, no, because of what Kevin Smith did to
I
the
was gonna say
first 2 seasons, we didn't care about the last one.
that's what I was gonna ask. Like, was that the Kevin Smith one? Because I
Yeah.
know it had a lot of coverage in the beginning where he was swearing up and down that this wasn't going to be a Tila thing. This isn't a bait and switch. Just
Oh,
kidding. And then everybody kind of dropped off where it's like, well, he's a liar. First off, we knew he didn't really like this, property where he was saying that he did. There's history of him
uh-huh.
talking shit on it. But also he literally lied to everybody when he said this isn't going to be a bait and switch. And then it was. So
It was a bait and
to me,
switch.
that's not nobody's covering it. It wasn't that great. So everyone dropped off. But there was coverage initially.
Indeed. And that is actually true. So when Dane and them say, no one covered it, why cover the last part? It's not a um, Picard season 3 scenario where it actually they go, look, member berries, we're bringing back Geordie LaForge and all these people. And I have to say it, Picard season 3 turned was an attempt to turn the show around, but it doesn't turn the show around enough for the first 2 seasons. Okay.
Sorry, I was muted. I was just talking to myself. Yeah, I've heard that enough. I caught a couple episodes from the first season and was like, this isn't for me. I want to just remember it the way that I remember it. Don't want to experience this. But I've heard 3 is really good and they kind of fix things in a way. I
Even
don't know that I care enough to go through 3 seasons to get there, but maybe
no.
I'm wrong.
I mean, I couldn't. That's why, like, So yeah, so what X-Men 97 is what they're trying to do, and I think they are using the 90s comic arcs.
Hmm. They definitely are.
Now, um, oh, yeah, so that's going to be a very serious story arc if they do it. Oh,
Which story arc, out of curiosity?
uh, life, death.
Okay, so I'm sort of familiar with that one. I think they have to touch on that a little bit, right? To kind of,
Well, would they say Forge made the weapon? Well, we
yeah.
know Forge didn't make the weapon unless.
Well, could, could it be different that instead of making it, they're using him? But I mean, obviously, it kind of hints that he can make things. Perhaps he's the one to fix what the weapon did.
His
I don't
power
know.
is technically. See, Forge's mutant power is technically to create. It's always been weird. He can talk to technology and create it.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can describe his actual powers. Does that make sense, Gray?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a cool power if you think about it, but
That's why in like
interesting.
X Force he can just invent stuff, kind of thing. Because it's kind of like in DC, you have Mr. Terrific or whatever,
Hmm.
who's like a 12th level intelligence, who is one of the smartest people in the planet, kind of thing, next to like Batman, kind of thing. Or he knows things and he's a good inventor. He's
Hmm.
kind of like a combination of Forge and Reed Richards in the DC universe. So what you're seeing is, before we get ahead of ourselves on that part, the so they start off always with an episode where the last episode kicks off,
Yeah.
which is Jean Grey, which is probably the original, crashing on the doorstep of the mansion. Now, everyone's in shock. It immediately goes to the idea of they're seeing, is that the real Jean Grey? Now, if you're familiar with the comics or familiar kind of with some of the hints that they have thrown out in the show already, like you can do the speculation on it if and when she was replaced. It didn't seem like Jean Grey. This was Jean Grey. Her attitude was entirely different than the original comics. And if you're familiar with the old animated series, Mr. Sinister always wanted to clone her and Scott to make a baby, anyways. And it's not like Madeline Pryor hasn't been known about for many, many years. Um, they touch on the Inferno arc later on, the original Inferno. Um, so you get introduced eventually. I don't know how I just go through it without. I don't want to spoil everyone who hasn't seen it because how they
Yeah, I
enter
think there's
it,
going to be some
it's
spoilers, but
hard to do it.
yeah. But
So
sorry, my dogs are freaking out. I'm just going to mute, but I'm still here.
okay, so I'll take over for a little bit. So I'm trying. I want to keep these spoiler free, but it's hard. So the speculation I had that she was always Madeline Pryor, but the question is, how would you explain Madeline Pryor? Um, you have two forms of her. You have the form that is the Goblin Queen. I'm like, surely they wouldn't do the Goblin Queen. And it's not that the Goblin Queen is not. It's not that it's so controversial. It's just it's not something you just dump upon people. Um, It's kind of like X-Men: The Last Stand as far as the issues with it. It was three major arcs. It was humans' war on mutants with the depowering kind of thing,
Hmm.
combined with like the Dark Phoenix was in there as well. It's just
Hmm.
ascending Jean Grey and
And
the
then
other
my favorite part, I'm assuming, is the one that you're going to talk about.
well, the mutant cure. Sorry, is the third part.
Ooh, so that wasn't exactly what I was thinking when you were talking about. Okay, well, let me let you explain then, because I was not on the same page with you.
So even though I do like the Fox X-Men movies, that was a big letdown to me because it's too complicated. Like I'm able to follow these comics, the X-Men 97, because
You
I'm
thought the
familiar.
Fox ones were too complicated? I hate them.
I
Like I
didn't say they
love.
were. I didn't say they were complicated. I said it's a
Okay,
complicated
sorry.
relationship with them.
My bad. I apologize for mishearing
They're
you.
not awful. It's a way if you wanted to abridge and make it make sense.
Sort of, but like you put that Dark Phoenix arc up against the one in the, the animated series, and I get you.
Well,
Like
to be
it's a matter
fair,
of
do you want to go with it?
extremely abridged.
Do you want to go
No,
through
but
it where she
I think
discovers?
that would be so much better.
They literally say in the original in the animated series that that is uh the Phoenix is an alien life form.
Yeah, they do change it, even for everything in the animated series. Like they do kind of abridge it. But I kind of dig that because, sorry, I'm interrupting where you were going with it. You were talking about the three
No,
arcs.
you're
I
good.
apologize. I'll interject afterwards.
It's fine. No, you're good. You're no, but you're seeing what I'm saying. They call the Phoenix an alien life form.
Yeah,
But
which is kind of a huge change.
do they really want to touch upon what the Phoenix Force actually is? Probably not, because if they're going off the X-Men animated series, so there's two forms of the Phoenix form. I guess there's three, if you want to be technical. There's one, it's Jean as younger when she's dressed like Wonder Girl in the green outfit. That's her showing she has a higher telekinetic principle or
And
powers.
kind of a cool suit. I like the yellow and green.
Okay. The fun fact is, it's not that it's been retconned. They said the Phoenix was always a part of her. So when they brought the children forward at one point, she was able to resurrect people as well as resurrect herself from death, even as a child. So, or younger. So you have that version of the Phoenix. You got the Phoenix from the animated series, which is like an alien life form. Then you have the other one, which is it's a primordial force. Now, X-Men the animated series went with the idea it was an alien thing versus it's not an evolution of her powers, while X-Men The Last Stand used it as an evolution of her powers.
Yeah, which significantly changes it, but you're right. Like it already was changed. I guess the animated
And
series feels right to me because that was the first time that I
it
experienced
was
it.
made
But you're right.
for
It's changed
kids
from the
more.
original.
Like in reality, the only reason the person who could kill Jean was Wolverine, because Wolverine can magically heal himself in seconds in The Last Stand. Yeah, I block out that
Yeah,
last part.
that's why I have like a huge problem with a lot of the Fox things. Like there's
Oh,
elements of them that I really like, but then, you get something like, so not only do you get like The Last Stand, not only do you get some issues with like two, but then once you get to the later ones, my
well,
God, the Dark Phoenix, the
I think the
Apocalypse one.
Brian Singer one wasn't as bad,
I liked
but
that first one, but again, it's like these weird leather costumes. Like I would expect more of it now, but considering what we had, like, what was it, just the Captain America movie, and I guess we had Blade already, but I get it. Like, it's put heroes in leather. That's close enough to
Well, I
spandex.
think they tried to change that with X-Men First Class.
Yeah, and I dug that a lot more. I thought they were on a really cool journey, and then we get like Apocalypse, and I can't remember what the one in between there was, but oof, I think it was Dark Phoenix or something. I've blocked all those out of my mind.
No, most people forget the last one, which is Dark Phoenix, which was the last one.
Yeah, that made me just want to forget.
Because they had reshoots. But no, but to this, they're trying to tease Madeline Pryor. Madeline Pryor, if they're using the base of the X-Men 97 series.
Well, can I ask you, do you like the comic origin of Madeline Pryor? Because this is definitely different and way more abridged. I kind of dig it.
Well,
I think I'm more of a fan of this than kind of the messed up.
You would have to address Inferno, and
yeah,
the question: would they address the Inferno storyline? Is a very beloved storyline from the 90s.
I love it, man. That's the one that I thought you were talking about before when you were saying, like, in order to get this, there'd be 3 parts.
If you go by the last episode, they nerfed the Executioner.
Yes, 100%. And they have abridged so many storylines just like that, so many different arcs. I kind of assumed that they were going to do that same thing with Inferno, but I thought we'd get something. I thought we'd get demons of some kind. I didn't think that it would be this, where she basically evokes one line and then
people can go back and check this and correct me later. And if you remember, I said the red mist or the red imagery of death and skulls in her vision in the past might be her connection to Limbo. Remember that?
It definitely could be. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be that or if it's supposed to be a version of just Sinister. Like they're definitely using his red eyes and red crystal.
Pryor, who's Madeline Pryor.
Mm-hmm.
That strikes me as she is unknowingly tapping into the Limbo dimension.
That would be cool if they actually are going to kind of tap it in that way. I just wasn't sure if it was possibly another reference to Sinister because, like he's the one that created her. He's got the red eyes, the red crystal. But that would be cool if they are tapping into Limbo. I just thought they were glossing over it completely. But I like your interpretation a little bit better.
Because it goes back to that. I'm going to go back to that. The foreshadowing in the first episode about the psychic future scene, I think that's like the plot they're using to have an intern between, like, it's like, oh, look at this teaser for future episodes. If you've been in watched enough television, you know that's probably what they're doing. You know what I mean? Gray?
Yeah. I think that it's an interesting interpretation. I just kind of thought that was another reference to Sinister, but I don't know, man. Like that could be really cool if they are tapping into a little bit more. Like they're changing up the intro each time, and that vision that they gave her just really, I don't know. I think there was a lot that was kind of foreshadowed in that. I would actually like to go back and visit that, but they're also changing up like almost every, not every frame, but a lot of the intros. So far, each intro has been different.
It's kind of like how Game of Thrones intros were different if a chess piece was removed. Kind of thing.
I dig it. Before, like it was kind of something you could tune out to and just like jam out on that song. But yeah, man, they've got me actually interested in the intros. But yeah, I think I might have experienced this a little bit different because I think you're a little bit more attached to some of these. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. I love the Inferno storyline, and they nerfed it completely.
Okay, my ability to keep track of information helps me separate it off so I'm not overloaded.
That's awesome, man.
Like I get whelmed.
I get very whelmed.
Sometimes I'll get it like for me to go back and have to actually watch stuff multiple times. So like when we cover Shogun, which when you get around to it eventually,
Yes. I do
um
need to watch the whole thing.
I will rewatch the whole series as a whole because there's parts that are happening now that I want to go back and look. They're gonna so like Shogun's opening starts off with one, and as the story progresses towards wherever they're going, they're changing the opening.
That's pretty awesome, man. I like that shows are doing that more. It would be awesome for us to put an intro onto these things, but I don't think we'll be changing it every episode. But hey, maybe by the time we get rebooted,
But
we'll be able
it's
to do
a
that.
way of progressing it now. But the big problem is now they have to pay off. It's fine for a person. Like, it is weird. Now, I have a concern, I will say this about the abridging. The abridging can go one of two ways now. It They need to land the storytelling and all the incongruent incongruent can't say it. You know the word I'm thinking.
Incongru. Yeah, I'm screwed up on it now. Yes. Now you've got me screwed up on it too. But yes, I know what you mean. We need we need it to actually make sense, and if they're going to bridge it, it needs to actually still stick with some sort of timeline and work.
And I'm
We
fine.
don't want an incongruence.
You don't want the incongruency to consume the plot. So, as I said, they leave off with Jean, and then she's like, but how can that be the real Jean? And then the clone clearly is having issues. Hello, Miss Sparkles.
And hey, but welcome.
But they are always leading off. They always start the episode where they last left it off. Now,
Yeah,
if you
I'm kind
know,
of digging that. They gave us quite a cliffhanger on the last one, so I wanted them to pick it up right there. So that worked for me.
and then it goes through the whole trauma dump vision of Jean, where she's been kept in like a castle basement kind of thing nearby.
Well, I mean, it's Mr. Sinister, like he's from the Victorian period, so of course his basement would look Victorian era. Come on, that just makes sense.
But
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
because if you go back to the trailer, not the trailer, but back to the vision, her having the diamond in her forehead, this is the payoff of this. Now, there is an old storyline in the old animated series. Nathaniel Essex thought that Scott and Jean were like the perfect mutants.
Yeah, and they kind of set
So,
that up in the original run of the series too. I think it's like season 2 or something. But he does call them like genetically perfect. So they kind of set that up, but the comics do it way better, for sure.
yeah, the comics do, and this is what they're using. They're almost verbatim using storylines. So you know where they're kind of going. Now, Storm isn't in this episode. Not really.
She comes up, yeah. Uh, Storm and an old friend show up at one point, but
Well,
you're
to
right.
be
It
fair,
mainly takes place in the school, and she's not at the school anymore. She
that I
left
had,
last episode.
yeah, so she left off. So it's going through eventually. I don't want to do without spoilers, and I recommend people watch this show. Some of it makes sense all in all. Now, when she starts having an identity crisis, how did you feel about the when she was having the identity crisis scene?
So you're talking about Madeline Pryor, right? You're not talking about Storm's identity crisis.
You know, Madeline Pryor when she starts
Okay, because
having
there's a
the
There's a couple. So it's kind of cool. So actually, Madeline Pryor, or as we knew her at the time, Jean Grey, kind of has a conversation with, or excuse me, no, that was Rogue and Storm who had a conversation about powers and that they wish they, she basically
No,
wishes she could
no,
touch
we're on
someone.
episode
But
3
that
now.
was in the previous one. Sorry, I thought that was her and Madeline. And I was going to mention, that kind
It
of
is
mirrors
her.
what's going to happen
It's
later.
her talking like they're sisters, like basically
Yeah.
to the knowledge of whatever.
But when she kind of has this crisis after she learns kind of the truth because somebody else has come back, I thought it was amazing. There's so many Easter eggs just behind her. So at one point she kind of rages out, and since she, has these kind of telepathic storms or whatever you want to call it, items behind her start to move. You get to see all these pictures, which are recreations of all these classic covers. You've got the one where Jean and Cyclops get married.
Yeah.
You've got the one, and then there's a couple of frames from the show as well. But there were so many like callbacks and Easter eggs in there for me. I really dug that. And then it seemed to have, like a lot of gravity where she's actually, realizing that she isn't the person that she thought she was just mere moments ago. For me, it totally worked. And it worked better for me than the comics. But I don't know. What did you think as kind of more of a comic loyalist? Was it
I think it
odd
was
when
good.
Madeline Pryor
It's
found out that way?
It's odd. It's like a very rush. Like maybe Sinister programmed like she's like, but we should have left when we should have left kind of thing. It's like we should have left. Um, and these are real easy episodes to watch.
Yeah,
They are
they really
not
were.
long. Hell, the fact alone I could watch a movie and watch it and gather both is amazing. Feats.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a little bit easier for you because not only are you superhuman, but you have an extensive knowledge on kind of the arcs that a lot of this is covering or kind of which ones it's touching on. But man, I have not paid attention to a lot of the 2000 era. I think I was mainly like 90s era and then like kind of
90s to
back into the
2000,
80s X-Men
kind of
arcs.
know about it. I'm familiar with most up until even with most of Krakoa. Like my love of Krakoa is not as much as others. It's really hit or miss, and they fortunately do things. So the concept is she's having an identity crisis. She starts hearing Sinister's voice over a baby
Yeah,
monitor.
which is creepy as hell to me. And do you think that he actually got through the baby monitor, or do you think that's just him? I don't know.
He,
So everything becomes kind of horror movie at this point, and
he
I
has
attributed
okay.
that
Just to
to
give you a clue, he can talk to his other clones in even the comics. He has a
yeah.
low level psychic ability.
So that's what I assumed he was doing, but I love the horror aspect of it coming through the baby monitor because my God, that would freak me out. And how many horror movies have happened that way? And how many freaky things just happen where like you start picking up weird noises from it? Just the mere fact that it's a baby monitor, like you're going to be tuned into anything that's coming from that thing. And yeah, I thought it was awesome. I thought it worked a lot better than the horror movies I've seen where
And then she has the memories of the other gene that she was connected to, the real gene.
yeah. And I love the way they did that. So again, it's a bunch of classic scenes. Most of them I think were from the original
no, she gets it
series.
revealed. What they don't tell you is she gets it revealed. Like it has her where she's having a crisis. Then she reflects upon Scott and Beast using radiation to test how old her body really is.
Yeah, gamma radiation specifically. But they can tell that the DNA from the new person is 30 something years old and the other one is significantly younger. I do wish that they could have given you some sort of time frame like this is less than a decade old. So you know that she had to be replaced within the last 10 years. But they leave that super ambiguous. So we don't know when the clone swap out happened. But like you mentioned, when she gets to that vision where she's kind of seeing a whole bunch of past things, what they do visually with that is just fantastic. Her face is blurred, Jean Grey's, but everybody else is in there. isn't. You get to see like a bunch of classic scenes kind of played out, but
Let me
the
answer,
gene that
Miss.
we're seeing is blank. We don't know which gene it
Okay, let
is,
me
and it
answer, Miss
really
Sparkles. The idea is you can tell how old the body is, right? Beast is a super genius, right? So he has to. He was a scientist before he was a big blue thing.
it's like aging a tree. You hit the cells with gamma radiation and you count the rings. I have no clue how he's doing it. He's just, he's a big blue
The
furry guy who
idea
has
is you
super
could tell a
science.
clone, right? You could.
Just to be able to tell the age of the two. So you'd kind of know, like, hey, she was replaced at this time. Neither of them know when one was replaced with the clone. They both feel like they're the real person. So it'd be fun to have a time frame, but that's the only reason why it matters for
We'll
me.
see if there's a
Apparently, it
payoff.
doesn't matter to the show, so they didn't tell us.
No, doesn't matter. Then it goes to the whole horror scene. Everyone, she starts having like a crisis of confidence and identity, and then everyone in the mansion
Well,
starts having a weird.
technically, Sinister puts his telepathic crystal in her head and activates her as evil. So it was kind of like she was a sleeper
I
cell, and
think
like
that's
he
a
says the
regression.
magic word, and she fully goes evil. But
I think that's
it is
kind of
pretty
like
awesome.
a genetic probed memory, like the diamond would be a control feature.
For sure. I think it was for us visually, but it was kind of like Manchurian Candidate style. Like her activation words were released. So she's going full evil.
Now, in
So it was really
reality,
cool. And again, visually, I love everything that they did in that scene. So it's everyone's worst fear
except
come
for
to
one,
life, which they've done in the comics in a couple different arcs. But one of them, it was Madeline Pryor kind of bringing everyone's fear to, I think, isn't it part of Inferno as well?
yeah,
Now I'm kind of blanking which one it
kind
was,
of.
but
Yeah, she can
but
bring
this
night.
they did it a little bit more like horror movie style. So it was really cool. Like Jubilee and Sunspot are like on a couch and you see
They're
a
watching
TV and it
some
kind of
sort of
flickers.
rain thing with Liliana
Yeah.
Rasputin. It's Liliana Rasputin comes like is on the other side of the television too.
I didn't even notice that who it was. Oh, that sucks because she's referenced twice. I recognized her in a costume, but not there. But it's really cool. It does like a
They're
poltergeist
using
reference,
more
and
of
then
a gene shifter of like maybe he can duplicate powers, but
yeah. But we're getting a lot of cameos through Morph, which is amazing. But that it has like a poltergeist reference, then it immediately goes to
to the ring
the
reference.
ring reference, and then the thing. It's just so fun. Like I really love what they did with the animation of this part and just how horror movie it got. So yeah, man, this was a really good episode for me, but I could see if you saw it differently because
I don't
they
mind
abridge a
it.
lot and
The idea is
it's different.
Madeline Pryor, even though she does have, so she proceeds to put fears into everybody. I think my only problem I have is Morph walks in and sees Wolverine showering.
And decides to join him. Yeah, that part was a little weird. I got to admit, I didn't expect that.
It wasn't a
But
fear. It excited him.
yeah, well, maybe he's addicted to fear. You never know. He then, gets scared and morphs out a Wolverine claw because also he is the toughest guy that he knows, and that is how he would
What
deal
was
with
the
his
part
fears is
where
become
you see
Wolverine.
it where when no, when they do the reveal, it's probably Sinister before this that Sinister does. Morph refers to that sickly look face.
Yeah, which I like because it is reverting back to like his PTSD
When
from the
he was
time that
controlled by
Sinister.
Morph, when he was controlled by Sinister.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I kind of dig it. But yeah, it is kind of weird that he goes back to his old face, kind of his more obviously if he can control it, why would he choose the one with the bags under the eyes and everything? But I think he's going back and flashing back to that time. I think it does kind of again speak to the PTSD that he had. I don't hate it, man. I kind of like that, but I can see how a lot of people
So
would
you
not
go
like Morph
through
in his
again
non-binary
Madeline.
form.
Like I recommend people watch this. If you go back and binge watch this yourself, you could probably binge and you'd be see my thing is, and this is something they don't answer, how she uses limbo powers. Because there's like it's the Goblin Queen that Madeline Pryor is. Like in the comics. Literally, limbo is a dimension. Okay?
Yeah.
Limbo is a dimension. This is
Mhm.
how actually Liliana Rasputin is able to travel through time and space. She actually travels through limbo.
Well, I guess as long as we're talking about her, you'll totally get back to Limbo, but we actually get, I guess, 3 cameos of her in this exact episode,
You
which
also
is
see
kind of awesome.
Spiral in the beginning as well. He
Yeah,
morphs.
which is fun. Another morph one. Like he's like, everyone who agrees with me, raise your hand. And then, because she's a 6 arm figure, he then
Yeah.
transforms into her and raises 6 arms. That's awesome. I didn't think we'd see her anytime soon in this series again. We have seen her previously, and they referenced something about the Mojo universe, so we might be seeing them again in the future. But
To
that
be
was kind of
fair,
cool. And then I loved at
there's
the
a Twitter post. In the Twitter post, will the update characters shows both Spiral. It shows Long Shot.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna get a long shot. If you remember, Jubilee was pretty taken aback by long shot. So we'll see. There might be a love triangle between her and what is his name, Sunspot and Longshot. We'll see. But yeah, that could also be teasing some New Mutants thing, because we would have Sunspot, we'd have Magic or Ilyana, and then Morph uses her twice when he's kind of under the control of Sinister.
Well, you see the demonic form of her with Limbo.
Yeah, so that's another like kind of callback to Inferno, which was kind of cool. But yeah, I didn't hate that, to be honest. So we got
Because
2 more cameos of her.
there's 2 forms of magic. Magic is tied to Limbo.
Well, to
And
be fair enough.
it's her in the X-Men, like the New Mutants costume. There's her in the less clad costume, but she looks that like she's been through Limbo, kind of like a fantasy look.
Yeah.
And she has the form that when she has the magic. What's funny is the sword she has is supposed to be magic.
Yeah. Which Morph is able to make the sword too, which he's able to make the weapons for the people when he transforms into them. But that's kind of cool. And then he also gets to do like the demonic form of Matt. I forget her name. Do you remember what she's called when she's anyway, it is the same Ilyana, same character as Magic, but yes, when she has a demon form from Inferno. Is cool. I love that whole arc because like you also get to see, I'm pretty sure it's Green Goblin who gets turned into the Demon Goblin. But
so there's
man,
a period in New Mutants that she gets the demonic horns.
yeah, which we definitely haven't seen like in this show before, but somehow Morph does the cameo of her, and I thought that was awesome, man. I'm digging that we get to see a lot of different mutants as cameos via Morph. I think that's a cool use of that character, and he's so overpowered now in such the greatest way.
So this is the form you see very briefly he morphs into.
It's pretty cool, man. But yeah, that's when he's fully under the control of Sinister again for a moment.
He's evil and he transforms into her.
Yeah,
This is the form you
awesome.
see. Now,
and I'm not sure the makeup of the sword, but I'm guessing it's not me.
But it's not this exact sword, but it's this body. And that is a very, very interesting callback. There's a lot of cameos by Morph.
Are you hating that? I'm kind of digging that. He did a Colossus one, I think, a couple episodes back.
This is what she looks like most of the time.
Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much what she looked like when we saw her on the TV, except she wasn't in an outfit. And then we saw her in outfit by Morph briefly, and then he kind of gets taken over, and then we see the evil one. Yeah. But I like Ilyana. I wouldn't hate it if they did New Mutants via, a cartoon like this. It'd be kind of cool. The movie didn't work out so well.
You have
Well, we've got both Magic and Sunspot. So we got
Yeah,
part
you
of the
guys
team so far.
really, yeah. This is how she looks right now. So for the most part.
Yeah, I haven't really followed up on a lot
But
of the
this is a
modern
form
version of
you
her
see her carry, like when she's actually tapping into the powers of Limbo. X Furnace
base.
is one of the new ones. So she has been in the comics for quite a while. So,
For sure. Canonically, she's Colossus's sister,
but it
right?
is so interesting that you see this particular form. It's a lot of member berries. Um,
Yeah.
Basically, they're fighting her, and I guess they're saying magic is most foreign powerful in the universe. But they don't explain how Sinister found a way for her to tap into the limbo dimension powers. It's not like she just becomes the Goblin Queen.
Well, apparently she does in this show now. All it takes is for Sinister to activate her. Now, maybe this happened before. We just didn't know anything about it, but I don't know. It seems to
I
be
Okay, let me
kind of
say
magic that
let's
just he
say the
activates her and she's the Goblin Queen somehow.
let's say
I don't know.
she let's say he used a repressed memory. So,
I mean, it could be, but it's still weird. Like all of this would have happened off screen.
and
Like
I guess
why?
if he wanted her to actually have a kid with Scott, um,
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing too. So she's been like deep undercover for at least 9 months. I don't know. I it makes me wonder, like when the clone was swapped out, for instance.
and to be
But if
fair,
that's the case, you'd still have to have time for her to turn into the Goblin Queen if that
so
happened
she
off screen.
doesn't get powers. Okay, no, hypothetically, the person who talked to her through the radio, not the radio, the baby monitor, was Sim. And I have to go back and watch it if they say it's Sim. And that's how she is able to make that
It's
pact with
supposed to be Mr.
Sinister,
Sinister. Yeah,
but
I'm
it's
not sure.
not
Like, I guess he could
Sim.
not be it, but I think he's going to be the main villain that we see this season as Mr. Sinister. It seems like they're all adding up to him, but I could be wrong. Also, so Gambit's vision when he sees the most horrible thing ever, it's kind of Rogue and Magneto kind of melting into each other, but that kind of so first off, his fear of his jealousy and her and Eric being so close together, but the fact that they're melting into each other really
You
is kind of like
forget it's a
callbacks to the swamp
swamp.
thing.
Swamp.
Yeah, but it kind of goes back to his swamp start, which what was their
The
crew
Sparkles
called? The like
watched the
Thieves
episode
Guild.
kind of thing.
Um, so everyone kind of gets a vision of their worst fear at some point in this. It's very horror
It's
movie like,
weird
but
you kind
in
of see
Gambits,
Wolverine. No, Wolverine
it's
is still, it goes to prove Wolverine has a psychic resistance.
yeah, you don't actually get to see his really, but in that
No,
sorry,
you
the
see
Gambit
him.
one,
No, you see
it's
him
kind of the
briefly.
swamp, but going back to the thieving guild that he was in, that was run by Mr. Sinister, so he's got a pass with Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister just infected Scott's baby. There's a whole bunch of
No,
things
no.
going on
Yeah,
here that
no,
all
like
leads to
before I get to
him, so I
that
think he's
part.
the big bad this season, but we'll see.
So when you're going through the visions, you don't see a couple. I think one's Magneto, the other one is Wolverine. Wolverine, in theory, it goes to prove he has a psychic resistance to a degree. Except he briefly fights uh what is it? Sabretooth. So you're not
Yeah,
gonna you would
I
rather have
thought they were
somebody,
all
let me say
I thought they
something.
were all kind of in that group vision at the end, but I'm kind of forgetting. But I thought Wolverine was also involved in that, where like it seems like the ground is even falling out from under them. But I don't remember Magneto being in that part. or rogue, but they might have been preoccupied.
It's very weird. So they play it fast and loose, like she has access to the dimensions or she's warping the mansion around her. Which a lot happens in that time frame. There's a
For
lot of
sure.
imagery.
Well, and it's so weird because they're skipping over so much. But I dig the visions. Does that feel out of place, even though we don't quite have like the origin of her powers?
You
Like,
just literally touch upon Inferno in like 5 minutes.
I would say it's even less than that. Like they evoke it in one line only, and then that's kind of it. And then she just declares herself Goblin Queen. And we've got the costume, which
Oh
hell yeah to
yeah,
the
he
costume.
just has
It's a little tamed version of it, but still a great costume.
yeah, it's very much the case of like I'm gonna be honest, it's not the absolute worst when it comes to if anything, I would say this show needs to work on its pacing.
It's going by awfully quick. I get that they only have 10 episodes this season, so that might be one of the reasons why they're going so fast. Like, I think we were talking about
Well,
it before. I
there's
think the Dark
20 in the
Phoenix is an
damn
8 episode arc. Like, you couldn't
there's
do that with a
20
10
in the
episode
can,
season.
to be honest. There's
Yeah,
already
yeah,
a
yeah.
second confirmed season.
Yes. I just mean if you're, so I think they were like 22 or 24 before. So you could do 8 episodes to an arc. You couldn't do 80% of your season to one arc. Like, I guess you could, but, like, I would think they want to get through a little bit more each season, but sadly, it's gonna screw up the pacing because you're gonna have to do it kind of like this, where it's like, okay, well that arc was one episode. Okay, moving on.
Miss
I
Sparkle,
don't know if that quite
let me
works,
address something. The Goblin Queen has been in the same outfit since her introduction.
and it's legendary. Okay,
It
like
is pure legendary.
younger
Like
me loved that costume. I will admit it, but even
she has
today,
had
me, it is a beautiful costume. It was odd to see, Jean Grey in that way, where it was like extreme underboob before that was popular. Nowadays, maybe that's something you'd actually see. In that day, it was like, hell no, like that is not done. But she was the Goblin Queen, so she was cool with that.
so
And
the idea,
rather
right,
extensive loincloth as well. But
is
they tamed it down a little bit.
to show people it's this is Madeline Pryor has had several main different like outfits. Okay. Her classic outfit, right? Even her in modern Marvel has been the same outfit for nearly 20 years.
It is kind of Lady Death vibes, though.
Yes. Very. This is like during Inferno. Hold on. So this is during Inferno, right? Inferno story arc.
It was just a very revealing and unique costume where, you
Yeah.
didn't get that from Jean Grey before. And then
So
they kind of
your
made it to
idea
more of
that
a
this is
usable
just,
costume.
by the way, for your idea, right, of its fappable material, because you're a Puritan, never let me find out otherwise.
I mean, it probably is, but, today that would just be lewd,
Even
right?
in the modern era with Krakoa, they do not even nerf her this much. They nerf her boob size, but they keep her the same. Like this is literally a toy of her in the 90s. So her having this, like she has several different costumes, but she is all based up. See, this was the story arc a couple of years ago. So they go with a more conservative outfit like this.
Yeah, so conservative. But compared to the prior one, it is conservative.
Yeah.
In comparison only.
This is
But,
literally the one they use in the show for her, almost. But it's a little bit
I don't know,
different.
man. There's more skin, but
There's more
yeah.
skin in the thighs, but they leave the part.
Well, then when she's sitting in the chair on top of the stairs, they do a very risque kind of Sharon Stone-esque leg
Yes.
cross thing.
Yes.
I don't know. It was pretty provocative. But yeah,
Like
I gotta say.
Pretty much like this.
Again, though, that's got the underboob out. We don't have that in the show. It's a little bit more like the other ones where
Because
it's more
here's the
like a
thing.
bra.
Madeline Pryor is
Good costume, though.
Is a magic user in the universe.
Hey,
Yes.
I pay attention to fine details. Okay, Miss Sparkles. But yeah, I definitely had imprecise speech earlier when I said usable. I meant like the outfit would actually be like, you could actually battle somebody in it. You wouldn't be constantly like adjusting it, so to speak. But yeah, I just mean battle ready. But yeah, I didn't hate that, but it feels so unearned because that whole Inferno thing, like the way that she gets her powers, the way that she becomes the Goblin Queen, she actually has to like, make some sort of deal to get these powers. But in this one, it's just literally she just declares it.
This is when she transforms.
And it's a very Sailor Moon-esque transformation. I dug it. I really enjoyed it.
This is what she looks like.
Hey, Miss Sparkles, you're not the one making us look like perverts. That's us.
So I recommend this. This is good. This is a very good episode. Like,
I loved it, but I can understand why
there
many
is
would have
so
issues
much
with
dialogue. Like, even for me, like,
and they don't explain a lot, even with that dialogue. Like, there's so much more that they could give you, like any sort of like time frame or anything. There's Easter eggs everywhere in it. All the background shots, all the image glimpses. Like, I know I kind of like paused it and kept going back through, but man, it's pretty amazing. I enjoyed this. This is the one that I think might sour a few people because essentially Madeline Pryor's arc, which there are like 3 of them in the comics, it all essentially comes down to one episode and that's it. I don't know, man. Like that, it does seem a little weird, but in the comics, it was super weird and super soap opera-esque. Like all of a sudden, Jean comes back and Cyclops just kicks Madeline and the kid to the curb and just kind of goes his own way. I don't know. It's weird. And that always struck me as weird. Enough that like when Madeline Pryor goes through the whole like Inferno arc, she almost sacrifices the baby to the goblin, like whatever, to the hell realm. I'm forgetting a lot of these actual names, but
yeah.
Limbo. Yeah, it gets like crazy where
I
don't know. I could understand somebody getting there if you're just kicked to the curb like Scott did to her. Like it's weird, man.
Here's the thing about Madeline Pryor. She's worth more than one episode. Her arc in the comics is very legendary. Because
I just saw Sparkles' question. There are no goblins whatsoever in this entire episode. Unless you count Nathan, the little goblin.
Okay, no. In the hell scene, there is goblins. Like when they fall.
Sparkles, you're totally right. Excuse me. They're not in reality. Like they're kind of in this mind.
That's how I think
they're trapping them in their fear. So excuse me. You're right. There is
like a fear
that
shows like a little miniature hell. Like she apparently can conjure limbo into reality, but it's not limbo.
Yeah. So you're totally right, and I don't know how I just like glossed over that. Yes, that does happen.
The little
like
hell
in the Inferno
scene
arc,
with, do you remember like
in the Inferno arc in the comics though, like literally a portal to the Limbo opens and goblins start raiding on the city. Like it's real. It's not just a vision in somebody's mind where this is.
See, she has the very when they revamped her design in the later '90s, they did go with the Lady Death look. But her look was so
Based.
prior to Lady Death. Like she so you see the scene where I thought, okay, maybe she's going to invoke her demon powers. Because you kind of heard a section of it when I saw it. So they take the floor out amongst from underneath. And it shows like a green energy coming up from the floor, like a hell dimension.
Mm-hmm.
There is so many Easter eggs in this episode.
So many, like all these frames you can kind of pause on and catch little things.
Because that is what Limbo partly looks like. It looks like a mini hell purgatory.
For sure. And so am I interpreting it different than you? I thought that that's just a vision that she's giving them, like as a group. Did
I
you
think
think that
it
she's
is
actually
no,
putting
I
them?
think it is a vision. They did not
Okay.
want to say she has actual demonic powers.
Okay, cool.
Kind of
I was
thing.
just wondering, like, oh, am I looking at this really stupidly? Like, did she
Because
actually
you
open a
see the
portal to them?
various other smaller demons and you see like Wolverine and others fighting off the little goblins.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm
it's
usually
either
sorry.
an
I just
it,
saw Sparkle saying she's not a fan of fan service. I'm usually not either. Like, I do hate it when it's like just the member berries, but I don't know. This worked for me. So
you
yeah, maybe
have
I'm a sucker for
to
this
if you
particular
don't
one.
do if you're not a sucker for member berries, why watch a show like this? This isn't
Yeah,
made
maybe they
for
have to be particular. This might be one of my darlings, but I don't know. I loved it when I was a kid.
my thing
But
is
sorry, I was interrupting you while you were talking
no, you're
about
good.
all the little
I had a
goblins and
blown.
stuff in that vision.
So there's so many little Easter eggs. Like I'm able to catch the imagery, and I may go back and look at that scene myself, where she actually wakes up and she realizes she's her own person. Then she goes to stop. Uh, I mean, Mr. Sinister,
Yeah.
and she goes, "Oh, Scott's like hands off my kid," kind of thing. Because meanwhile, just happened is she just gives her kid over to Mr. Sinister. And I'm going to have a nitpick with
Yeah.
this because
Well, it's a huge change.
this goes back to the vision, right? And I'm going to have to go back and look at that vision from the first episode that she has.
Yeah. It kind of makes me want to look back at some of those too, because you also get the super death version of the master mold. Sorry, I wanted to call him multi mold. But this time very more skeleton. But he was kind of skeleton-esque in that episode 1 or whatever vision. So yeah, I really do want to go back and watch that myself.
So they do open the door. That they say that Mr. Sinister has been working with the techno organic virus. Now, this is a different telling than a phalanx infects him.
Yeah, and instead of apocalypse, they're completely changing it. But I thought we had the technovirus already, and I thought Cable gave it to Wolverine, and that made antibodies for it. So shouldn't we have already in this timeline had some sort of antibodies for this disease that Sinister just gave Nathan? Shouldn't it have already been worked out?
50-50. Phalanx can consume people, which because there was a future version of Wolverine, he gets infected by the phalanx.
I thought that was an episode. I swear I remember actually watching that one, but I definitely didn't go back and watch it.
I want to say um, he basically is the phalanx. Um, I guess you can have sentience, but at the same way, it can actually infect him and change him. Meaning, if he gets injured enough or something suppresses his healing factor, it can consume him. So, the idea it's also a real virus as well, which you either treat it as such or you treat it as one. Because Cable's original story, regardless of it, is because he is supposed to be the son of a variant of Jean Grey as well as Scott Summers, who has a good, strong lineage as well. Powerful lineage. Is it can be suspended or he can. He's at some point in the future using guns because he has to use all his psychic might to keep it at bay.
Yeah, and if he didn't have that, supposedly he'd be like Omega level or even more powerful,
So
which
that's
is
why
awesome.
that's actually in Krakoa in the Krakoa era and newer, he gets cured of it and he becomes a lot more powerful. So
Yeah, I'm having trouble googling it, but I swear in one of the episodes, Cable like infects or exposes Wolverine to it, and then he gets an antibody. I swear that was like season
are you
4 or
not
something.
confusing it with the legacy virus?
You know, I might be, but wasn't that also no? It's not the end of like season 1 or something. I'm gonna keep looking in the background, but I think
Look,
you're right. I am kind of combining it with that, but I swear that was the same thing. Like they gave it to the one senator, and it does the exact same green techno thing on his skin. Maybe I'm combining the two, but I thought that was the same disease. So my bad if it's not.
mm, I can. So the thing about the phalanx, right? Because I'm assuming he maybe captured Warlock.
You're totally right. Sorry, I was combining it with Legacy. Yep, my bad.
Well, because what happens is because there's no Wolverine in a timeline and he needs an antibody for the legacy virus, he infects Wolverine with it to make an
Yep.
antibody that could actually kill all mutant kind because the legacy virus was invented to pretty much be very deadly.
Yeah. Yeah, that was totally the one that for some reason I thought it was the same techno organic one, but yeah, Cable ensures Wolverine would be infected, thus creating the antibodies to kill it, and yeah, took care of it. So
Yeah.
I thought it was the same virus, so I thought, why the hell aren't we using that same antibody on the baby to solve this? Or couldn't they expose Wolverine to this one as well, get the antibodies for that, save the baby that way? But
Because
instead, they're going to go a different route.
how they dealt with the phalanx in the animated series is they had to come up with a virus that fought the phalanx, like an
That makes
antivirus.
sense. I apologize. I put us on a weird tangent. That was my incorrect thing. Yeah, for some reason I was conflating the two. But still, I'd like to think that Wolverine would have some sort of immunity to this or antibodies to
Well,
it.
he
But
does, like until something happens and he gets his powers suppressed, you know. It's it's weird. What he can heal and what he can't is two separate. But yeah, so you go
fair enough.
through there's this big part and this is my whole thing. They if you throw too much information, it doesn't make any sense with it. Like, is this reality or is this a mental battlefield? Then it turns into a real battlefield when she's sitting at the top of the stairs. she's able to break down reality, parts of the mansion. My personal theory is she was born out of, at least in this universe, the shard of the Phoenix that remained in Jean Grey.
Which I know there's like this spark. So they did it kind of weird, and they retconned it a couple times. The whole Phoenix, Jean Grey, Madeline Pryor thing in the comics, but wasn't it like the spark of the Phoenix that didn't Sinister create a clone,
Yes.
but it wasn't alive, and then there's like somehow a spark of the Phoenix, and that's what
Yes.
creates its life.
So there's a
anyway, or gives it
line that
life.
she uses. She
Is
uses
it
it.
is it the title of the episode?
She uses it, and there's a part where she's having a discussion with Jean when they're in their minds, and Jean's telling her she can be a real person. But she goes, "But I am the spark of the rage of the Phoenix." Now that is deep lore in the most
Fair enough. There's also the
pulling of
line
lore
of it's the same as the title Fire Made Flesh. So I don't know, man. Like that is kind of interesting. I guess I missed that.
she
But
also says the title, she's fire made flesh. Yeah.
that definitely seems to hint at your idea that she is the like the spark of it or whatever. Huh. That is interesting. So if you were to have a guess, when do you think the clone was replaced or Jean was replaced with a clone?
I mean, it could have been a year ago, but without digging out and going through the past couple of seasons, you never know.
I think we know that it's at least 9 months ago. Like she had the baby then, but do you think it was during the Dark Phoenix thing? Because they definitely did the Dark Phoenix thing differently. Like in the comics, they had it that it
I'd
wasn't
have to
actually
do a
Jean
deeper
Grey;
dive
she
and
was the
have to go
cocoon.
back through
Yeah, it
the
does make me
sub.
kind of want to watch some of those last couple seasons and kind of see. I don't know because I'd be interested. I remember them ending the Dark Phoenix saga differently. Like it's not the cocoon under the river, and it's not that she really lives in the sun. There's been a couple different answers in the comics, but I to tell you the truth, I'm kind of blanking how the Dark Phoenix saga ends in the show. I probably should go back and watch from there on.
Uh, yeah, that's something, and I will be shocked if they don't go back and visit the Dark Phoenix. Like, I will be totally shocked if they don't.
Well, you did notice the opening scene. They added a frame of the Dark Phoenix in there as well, and the opening to this one. So it kind of, to me, hints that we're going there, but I don't know.
Now, there is a weird thing. So, the final part is after everything is said and done, Madeline Pryor says, "If you know me, she's just like a different version of Jean Grey." Now, if you didn't notice something, Sinister was not healing well. Did you catch that?
I didn't. What do you mean? Did he even?
He had
Was
a
there even any
very
combat?
bad. He had, yes, they fought him. He gets cut open and he's like oozing green.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I totally forgot about that. I was thinking when he kind of just creeps out of there doing the Ladybird poem thing. You're right. I totally forgot about that.
So either he's
Well,
dying or something is happening with him.
I'm assuming he's not dying, seeing as how he's practically invincible. But could there be a reason
He's
why,
not
or
100%
immortal? I mean,
invincible.
I meant to say immortal. Sorry. At least that's what he has claimed in the past that he is immortal now. But I don't know. That makes me wonder. Huh. I didn't catch that. I think I would like to go back
He's
and actually watch this
wounded
episode.
and it takes him longer to heal.
Yeah, because So
Now,
maybe there's more reason why he wanted this overpowered baby and why he wanted to introduce
now
certain
there is a thing at the
diseases to
end
it.
of the episode, and this is going to be the payoff. into Storm is in Texas, and then a man comes over. You know by the look, it's Forge.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've met this character before, so we should know him.
They act like they've never met Forge before.
I know, which is interesting. But technically, in that episode, she wasn't with the X-Men when they met him when he was running X Factor. So it still could work that, you know, she just didn't meet him. But you'd think the professor or somebody would have filled them in that, like, there is X Factor. It's led by this guy. But technically, she never saw him.
So there is a storyline.
Which doesn't it even share the title of the next episode, the story arc? Or am I remembering that wrong?
Okay.
Because it hints at a couple different.
Oh no, because the next episode is called Motindo.
Oh, that is not what I thought.
It's called Life and Death. Life Death.
So that's what I thought it was called next time, and I thought that was the name of the arc for Storm, but maybe I'm wrong.
So this might be, and I want to say it without looking at the trailer, and I can probably tell you right now.
Yeah, and I haven't looked at like any of the trailers or anything for like what's coming out.
You want to know what what the trailer is on Twitter?
Sure.
It's in 16-bit.
Ooh. Okay, so it's like you said it was Montendo, so it's like Montendo Nintendo. It's kind of fun. Enjoy.
Who do you think that's gonna be?
I don't know. I'm kind of blanking off the top of my head, but so I'm not familiar with Montendo, if that's supposed to mean something to me. But I thought the life or death thing was Storm's
Life and Death is a Storm short arc when she gets temporarily depowered,
which we've kind of currently got right now. So I assume just from the title of that is the only spoiler that I've had. That means she's probably getting her powers back after next episode. But that also leads into another arc, which would kind of make sense, where there is kind of a battle for control over the X-Men.
But there's also going to be something.
Which I know nothing about. So far, that's not ringing any bells. But if it's kind of a newer arc, I did fall off with the comics a little while ago. But
it's a very old story.
I should know it then. I don't know why I'm blanking on
it. It's a weird story because it would touch upon that Forge made the weapon that depowered her. And that is
Oh, yeah. And obviously they didn't show that this time that it was actually Forge who had anything to do with it. But she has just met Forge, so it does seem like, perhaps he will have something to do with the anti-weapon, if you want to call it that. But
because it's shown in the episode prior when she gets the weapon that depowers her.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, unless they do.
Well, they just had the Executioner make it himself on this one.
He's somehow ingenious enough to
make this anti-mutant weapon somehow that changes them on a cellular level.
It gives them
I was going to say, but I guess we glossed over. There's one more reference to Forge in this episode as well. So when the baby is brought to a different time, at one point they're said like, so you know how to solve this? And they say, no, but I know a guy who can make stuff. So that sounds to me like another reference to Forge. So it's kind of interesting. He's solving a lot of.
Bishop. But this is also there's a payoff too, right? There's only one charge left in the. Apparently, that's why Bishop has been here forever.
Yeah, his time band was apparently broken, but Beast was able to make it look real good, I think is what Bishop said, which fair
But
enough.
there's a hint. He said Bishop said there's only a time left for one charge to go back to the future.
But shouldn't he be able to get another one though if he goes back to the future, or at
But
least get
see,
somebody
he
who
may
can
not
charge
know
him?
what future he's going back to.
Fair enough. He does make sure to point out that the future is unknown. It's rewriting itself. It's folding back on itself, and it feels free to go back and rewrite certain parts. So the future is not solid in this one, and that also falls back to the old version of the cartoon. There was a cable time where cable whatever time period, whatever you want to call that, like
Here's the thing about Cable in the old
but
series.
there were these
Cable
time
is
tornadoes in his because his time was unstable in his potential future is why he had to travel back. So they've kind of set that up that the future is not set in stone.
Cable.
But
No,
sorry,
Cable comes from almost 100 years or 1,000 years in the future.
which is not where they were going in this one. Bishop says that he's going a few decades into the future. So it kind of seems like that would fit more with like Josh Brolin, but we'll
Well,
see.
every depiction of Cable is very much, and if the next episode is the Mojo episode,
Well, so do you remember Josh Brolin's line from Deadpool though? I think it's something like, yeah, but in I think it's like 50 years you'll all be dead. It was it made it seem like his future was much much sooner. It was only a few decades, not like centuries. So, I don't know, it kind of feels like they're doing a tie-in to the MCU version. Or
well,
I
it's
guess that would have been Fox.
speculation. It's really speculation. It could feed
Yeah.
in Deadpool 3.
You're right. It is 100% speculation, but in the comics it's supposed to be
I don't think
centuries,
this.
not
I
decades.
don't think that. So where they go with this is it's going to go Motendo, Mo, Life Death Part 1, Remember It, in Life Death Part 2. So
Cool. So then it is going to be kind of an arc for Storm, I'm assuming. Cool. I wasn't sure if they were just going to
so
immediately gloss over it like they just did with the Madeline Pryor thing, where it's basically one episode and it's like, okay, well, that's her whole storyline. That's many arcs
so
all
you know
combined.
what the titles are, and if you know what the titles
Yeah.
are, you can look at it. So Life Death is the story where Forge, when Storm gets briefly depowered, she goes lives with Storm.
With Forge and his Texas ranch or
Well,
whatever,
to be
which is
fair,
kind
there's
of
a
cool.
little bit of a Minecraft arc there. It's even dark. That's why I'm saying I'd be really curious how much they touch.
Yeah.
Then there is another sequel to it. And
I guess I
they
don't know
are,
about the sequel to it. I just know that one. So damn, I got some catching up to do in the comics.
I don't know. You could know. You could know like 90s comics, and there was a whole bunch of weird ones. Not even I really remember Life Death. I mean, somebody remembers it because it was done in like the first one was done in '85.
Oh damn. I didn't think it was that old. So
Then
maybe I
they
do know
redid
kind of
it
two.
later on. So,
Yeah, so maybe I know the later one then. Damn.
so some people know the concept, right? Is you can only speculate on what they're going to do. Um, it's um, and it's interesting that this is why she maybe has this look. Maybe it's been hinted at the entire time.
Well, I dig the look. And a lot of people are calling it like woke Storm because she's got the mohawk. It's not as much of a mullet. In this one they showed it's pretty
By the way,
mullet-esque
most
in the
people aren't a
back.
fan of 80s Storm.
I love me some 80s Storm, man.
80s
But
Storm is not everybody's favorite because this is the cover of Life Death. It was originally
yeah.
done in 1984.
She's pretty moody, man. I dig her. I don't know. I like the Punker Storm. It's awesome.
Yeah, there's the Morlocks. She's living with Forge. It goes over a few. I mean, they.
So the middle shot isn't the prettiest that Storm has ever looked, but I don't know,
But
man.
it's
I
an
dig it.
old. It's
For sure.
definitely there. Like, this is the 80s Storm, right?
I dig it.
Because it's what it is. It's how supposedly that's going to be the arc, and it's going to be very interesting. See,
I hope they do it well because it's been kind of iffy. I've kind of liked the way that they've skipped over a couple of them and really abridged them, but that Madeline Pryor thing, like, I don't know, man. It was messy in the comics. I don't know if I like the way that they did it in the comics, but it kind of makes sense to me here. So I think with the reverence they have for the source material, they might figure out how to abridge it well. But is it working for you? Do you have any faith that they'll do it right?
I mean, I'm guessing they'll explain how. I think it's going to be fine. See, Bright Eyes, that's really hard to tell what that episode's going to be about.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Now, the problem
I
is
mean, I guess it could be
the
Cyclops.
problem with this show is you need to stick a landing.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing episodic and you're not doing the other, uh, so the concept, right? It's weird how, because the last 3 episodes are going to be called Tolerance is Extinction.
Oh, cool. So they are going with like a 3-part. Okay. I'm digging that. I just thought, like you couldn't have like the Dark Phoenix like 8-part whatever series, but I don't know, man. If they're doing a 3-parter for the end, I hope they stick it. I think they've done pretty good with some of these I don't know what you want to call it, but like anti-mutant groups and the arcs for those. I think this could be really cool. So I'm not sure exactly which one that's referring to, but dude, I'm looking forward to it.
So we'll see where they go. I mean, they've
They
hinted
can
that
still ruin it for me.
Mojo.
I don't want to be too fanboyish about this. Right now everything is working for me, but they could totally lose me. They are not above that or anything like that. But dude, I'm looking forward to it. But sorry, I spoke over you. You were talking about Mojo. So they showed what's her name with the
They've
6
showed that
arms.
Mojo is. So the preview is in 16-bit.
Ooh.
And
Well, I mean, we're talking about it. Should we just bring up the preview, or
I
is
mean,
that
if I can find it, yeah, I'll probably see.
okay?
So the image kind of tells about what the next episode is. It's very
Cool.
much the other. Now, how it ties back into uh hold on a second. So people who keep track of this, right, for the 4th episode, you're able to, so somebody found it. Now, let me see. Find it in the media. Someone found it on Twitter, and it was. So they released artwork that showed Magneto in 16-bit.
That could be
So,
really cool.
so usually there's always a trailer for the next episode. And I am truly surprised there isn't one yet. Um, the thing about this is they're going to get themselves in trouble if they keep up this pace. Because, to be fair, this needed to be like 2 parts. Like, you need to.
And I would have said the same thing about the Madeline Pryor thing, but I don't know. They didn't go super strange with it, which it kind of is in the comics. But I don't know. I guess I don't need the whole like she shows up, she doesn't think she's Jean Grey at all. Scott asks her if she's Jean Grey and she like punches him. I guess I don't need that. I think it makes a little bit more sense to me that as a clone she'd come in being Jean Grey. But I don't know. Are they going to do everything that like works like that in the future? I don't know. I could see them abridging it and changing it and making it so much worse. So I hope that doesn't happen, man. But I'm glad that they're giving this arc, at least 2 episodes. I would have thought Madeline Pryor needed at least 2 episodes, but I'm kind of digging what they did.
I mean, to be fair, there was 2 parts.
Fair enough, but you just kind of learn at the end that like, wait, maybe she's not the only one. And they've hinted at it with like visions, but you know what I mean? It's like the teaser from the last one, really, and then this episode is Madeline Pryor, and that's kind of it. It feels like it was just an episode.
What's
not like an
funny
arc.
is they still do when she loses her powers because she feels her powers are everything.
Yeah,
She still has it. I've lost part of my soul. I lost the powers of a goddess. I have become nothing. She says that in the actual thing, and that's why she disappears. But she finds a way to get her powers back, kind of thing. Well, by the way, everyone's hoping. But the big thing about it is it's going to be how they handle it. To be fair, if they try to end this season on a cartoony, I'm trying to find that image I found before. It got put out, but it was under X-Men 97. Like, it's going to be really, really weird. No, I was about right. But if you go look at their Twitter timeline, they kind of get it. But problem is they post too many spoilers. They really do.
Well, then we're probably fine not doing spoilers or whatever. But yeah, I'm excited for what's coming next. Do you think they're abridging these the best they could? Like, do you think that they'll handle this with the appropriate?
They need to have a
reverence?
payoff.
I think so too, and I hope this 3-parter will stick the landing, but I kind of think it's going to tie in the time travel, and it might tie in a little bit more of what's to come with everything else, and I think it could be really amazing, man. But I'm prepared for them to really abridge this the wrong way, and for me to start hating the show. But
they're already there. They're really approaching it, combining two.
So for me, they're not quite there yet. I dig the Madeline Pryor thing more than the actual comics.
Here's the thing.
I think it was messy.
Assume you take this, but you need to start hitting a main plot line here really soon, or else you're just going to be an episodic series.
And I think they are. I think it's going to be the Sinister thing, but we'll see. But yeah, I agree with you.
I'm going to tell you right now, if the episode is Tolerance is Extinction,
So
That
like I would think that
sounds.
that would be kind of the Apocalypse one, but they've already used Sinister instead of Apocalypse, and they already kind of did the Apocalypse and the Four Horsemen thing previously in X-Men the animated series. So I don't know. Uh, am I looking at that wrong, or is that an arc I should know?
I'm gonna guarantee if they try to bring back the cartoonish um Friends of Humanity shit, that's gonna be. Hmm.
I mean, they kind of did with the first episode, and I didn't hate it, but even in the old one though, like I'm sure everyone would see it as super woke now, but like even in the old one, they had them like in basic clan hoods and stuff, and they've got the armbands.
Oh, they were worse.
It seems like it was toned down in episode 1 for me, and it kind of worked. And then they have the executioner in episode 2. That kind of worked for me, but I don't know. I agree with you. I hope they're not the main threat. I'm totally cool with episode 1 kind of being a redo of Night of the Sentinels or whatever.
It wouldn't
But
surprise me if they tried to do a Sentinel rebirth
I mean, they
again.
kind of did, but they just killed the master mold. So I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what they'd be doing, but I'm assuming it's one of these, you know, uh, you've got to choose a side type of deal. But I don't know, man. I hope they stick the landing for these last 3 episodes, but for me the abridgments have worked, but I don't know. I could totally see them going off the rails with it. I'm prepared to hate it just like I was going into it, but so far every part of it they've gotten right for me. So I'm on board for now. I hope they'll do it right, but I'm prepared to hate it if they go off.
They might do it. I mean, she's probably going to get her powers back till part 2.
That's what I'm assuming. I kind of thought it was a 1-part one, so I thought they were doing the same thing with Madeline Pryor. But dude, if they're actually going to take the time for that, maybe they will figure out the pacing a little bit. But I'm digging the pacing on this so far.
I don't
And
know.
yeah, man, Gambit was trending on Twitter, so that's kind of fun.
Well, to be fair, right? It just really truly depends. And let me see. I show people this. Let me see. No. Let's see if they show it. What is that? That's so the other right. Oh, so here's what I was talking about. When they get brought into a hell dimension. Here. This is when they get brought to the hell dimension.
And I thought that was badass that Cyclops charges up Bishop with an optic blast.
So when you say they don't show it, so did they physically get so it's like they got physically transported to Limbo.
My bad. I was thinking like, did a portal actually open and like, regular
She
people
literally opens up a portal underneath the mansion. Like you freaking see it.
Yeah. I
but
took
they
that
don't
as
say
she
this
just
is
put them in
Limbo.
a. Yeah, I took it as like it's a mental prison, like she didn't actually open it, but yeah, it does kind of make me wonder because Jean kind of undoes this right after there, so that's what made me think that it was all like in
It could be one
her
way or
victims'
another.
minds, but
This
yeah, I actually want to watch it again, kind of
a
looking
lot
at it.
of buzz. It probably will.
I hope so. I know I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I thought they were totally going to miss the Madeline Pryor
And
arc.
see, here's a funny thing about Limbo. Limbo can be like a representation of the real world. It's like purgatory.
Yeah,
so,
and I really thought that we were going to get a little bit more of that, but I wasn't sure. So it does bug me that they just put her as the Goblin Queen. Like she didn't have to do anything. She didn't have to make any agreement. She didn't have to, like trick anyone. But I don't know, man. I don't hate it. I gotta be honest. Like I think I like this more than most of the comic arc, even if they kind of nerfed Inferno.
And there is so many. I know we're probably focusing on this on more than we should. But there is
Yeah,
literally,
sorry. I think I've said that like 3 times, but
we are underestimating how many Easter eggs are all in this episode.
Yeah, it was so many member berries, which I usually hate, but I gotta be honest, it worked for me.
It's
So
not even just
I don't
member
know.
berries, it's imagery in parts. Whoever came up with this episode should have done 2 episodes of this. What are you doing?
Oh, excuse me. I thought I was muted. I
You're
was trying
smashing
to
your
do my
keyboard, huh?
double stroke. No, it's stupid drumsticks on a drum pad. But yeah, my bad. I was trying to warm up for
So
later.
this is my problem. Like, some of these episodes are really good. Some you can explain shortly, others you can't. This episode was so jam packed. That's why, like, if I think they're going to try to handle Mojo World combined with Life Death, that could be a complicated episode next week.
But they kind of, I wish I had kind of done some research and looked into which arcs they kind of combined into the last few. But I mean, they did the Executioner one, which I forget what his is
No, the
called,
last episode was like the
and they did Trial of Magneto.
No.
But I mean, Executioner wasn't in Trial of Magneto, and then there was like one other arc that they also kind of threw in there. I didn't
Well,
hate it. Maybe
they
there's a way
they
that they're able to
fully
combine these.
did Executioner. He shows up. When Executioner shows up in the comics initially, he
Mhm.
knows how to fight majority of the X-Men and neutralize them.
For sure. And I think he did a good depiction of, you know, like them kicking Cyclops' ass. And there was like one other one that was involved in that, but because they had Rogue flying well, now I'm blanking because I thought they had Cyclops flying out of there. I can't remember, but I thought they did a decent job of showing that, you know, he was a formidable foe, that like Cyclops couldn't do anything with him, and he knew how
Well,
to
that's
fight
because he has the
versus Cyclops.
optical blast armor.
Oh, I think it was Cyclops and Bishop that he beat the shit out of.
Well, that's because
I,
his
yeah,
armor
again,
blocks energy projection.
same thing. Yeah. So it had to be the two energy projection, where, you know, Magneto could just come in there and kind of use him as his own personal.
I have magnet. Oh, you have. That's why the bullshit that Magneto could kill somebody by pulling, because your blood has iron in it.
Yeah, I'm cool with it, man. But I do like how they're not quite going that far with this one. But I don't know. There were like 3 or 4 storylines that they kind of combined into that last episode. So maybe there's a way that they could do.
But
Mojo
the big
World
one was
with
always
Life
I
Death.
think they're going with like 1 with like 2 sub.
Yeah, I think so as well. So they're really abridging like one of them, where it basically is kind of.
They're really trying to.
I would say Inferno got it in name only. Like, cool. They gave a nod to it by putting the, you know, like Demon Vision in there, but that's not Inferno. She's not the Goblin Queen. Like, I don't know. So I hope they do it well. I expected to kind of hate it when I heard that they were combining different storylines, but so far, man, like, it's working for me. So I'm excited for the next one, and I totally expected to kind of hate this whole series. I was really primed to. Everyone was telling me it was woke, and, you know, like
I'm
the
just going in
showrunner being fired 2 weeks ago.
I'm going in cautiously optimistic. The showrunner.
I think that's where I'm at too. Well, it didn't inspire me that you know, like, you hear that supposedly he's kind of an activist guy and he got fired for his extracurricular activities, if you will.
And he gets fired with such prejudice, they don't even want him there.
Yeah. So that doesn't, you know, bode well for any show, but
no.
I'm really digging what they have. Like, it feels like they really do care about the original show, which again wasn't perfect. It didn't do every arc just like the comics. They did kind of make their own thing up. But I like it, man. Like,
so what
to
they're
me,
doing
maybe
is
I'm simping for it, but I like it.
So what they're doing is they're combining the old show and combining like 90 story arcs. Early 2000s.
Yeah.
Now there is a little bit of modern Marvel design creeping in here. Ever so. A little.
I don't hate it, man. Like, I'm cool with them changing up the Goblin Queens. I know we've talked about her outfit to death, but I'm cool with them changing it up the way that they did.
That's not it.
It does look a little bit more like that modern Krakoa one that you showed. Like, it looked pretty close to that, but Which parts are you talking about? The modern? Because I'm kind of digging their costume
You're
changes.
seeing it. You saw it a little bit with Madeline Pryor when she's analyzing herself,
Hmm.
which this is where I think they can't escape modern Marvel. I'll probably do a recap, I guess, if we go over and see it, because it does make me really wonder if the reception that they're getting for this show, why isn't there a third? Why did Disney delay a third season going into development?
I mean, they could screw it up. Disney has hooked me before. I thought Mandalorian season 1 was awesome. It was really hard for me to finish season 3. I'm totally still cautious on this, but I don't know, man. They've got me a lot more on board than
So
I
they
thought I
have
ever
two
would be.
episodes in the can. They got 2 seasons in the can right now.
Yeah, and I think the showrunner was out before they had quite finished the second
They were
one. So,
no, he was
oh,
out.
am I wrong on that?
So he was fired right when they were trying to discuss a third season. But they said they're
Oh,
still
okay.
moving forward with a third season.
Nice. Cool. So I wasn't sure if there was going to be a slight change because, some of the old seasons were weird. Like season 5, the animation is really drastically different halfway through that. And they kind of thought they were going somewhere when they thought they were canceled at the end of 4. And then they got picked up for a 5th season. So that kind of changed. So they've kind of gone through some stuff in the past. But cool. I'm glad to hear that they at least have 2 seasons done with this group because so far I'm digging what they're doing.
It's kind of
I'm
like
prepared to hate
it's
it when they
kind of like
change,
with
but I like it.
Velma or any animated series.
Based. Velma, very based. We are going to
So,
be blessed with a 2nd season soon, and praise Mindy Kaling for all of that.
you know what? We could review that on your channel. You will.
Oh, let's do it, man. I'm still
We
putting
can
together my video of why this show is great.
we
Velma
can
season
suffer
1.
in misery, and then you can bring on Patrick to make you laugh at you.
Oh, I'm not kidding. Patrick's on that episode, man. He's going to show me why Lost is good, and I'm going to try and believe him on that. But I got to tell him why Velma
You don't
is
like
good.
Lost?
I loved it at the beginning, and then by the end, it's like, come on, it's all purgatory.
It's because
and
it
then it turns
became
into that.
fan theory towards the
Yeah.
end.
So I don't know. It didn't stick the landing for me, but
No,
I would love to hear why it works for him.
So I had to diatribe, but yeah, the problem is you have to break these episodes apart, and it's really good for YouTubers to do who break into Easter eggs. This episode to me feels like you should have had 2 or 3 episodes explaining the parts, not just she suddenly realizes she's good and I need to save my baby. Like, it shows she has a heart though at the end. That's my baby. And before she hands him off to Bishop.
And that was pretty cool. I liked, her imparting the mental ideas of all these. Hopefully a baby would understand that, like, is it just going to be a bunch of gobbledygook to the baby? But still, that's really awesome that she would kind of implant that in it. So at least the baby would know that it's loved. But still, they are basically just like, hey, Bishop, you want to take my baby to the future? Thank you, sir.
Have fun. We're writing you off for maybe 3 episodes. No, I mean, I'm not going to say anything. It's kind of like maybe there's something there. We'll see if it pays off in the future. Maybe he comes back in the future. You get I have a suspicion we're going to see future Cable.
Yes. Which we've met in the show before. And it seems like perhaps he's not centuries off like they had kind of previously implied. But the other thing that it's really paying off for multiple episodes or building up for multiple episodes is the Rogue Magneto romance or something. They really paid it off with the Danger Room. Apparently they had it booked for 14-hour sessions. Morph made it a big thing that Rogue's working on her stamina with Magneto. So I don't know, man. Do you think they're going towards that route, or do you think maybe he's trying to help her control her powers, or do you think it's just
it could be 50-50? Oh, you missed that part too. I kind of remember that. I do remember that, I should say. That
Yeah,
is,
just the danger
I
room was blocked like every single like time that they went to schedule it. It looks like Magneto and Rogue had it booked. So I don't know. That could be for a number of reasons, but the straightforward one is, they're having a romance now. But I don't know. Could that be a fake out? And we're going to see that she truly does love Remy, and she's
well,
not just screwing
okay.
over
The
Gambit.
reason why you're seeing it is Gambit saw that. Gambit saw that as part of his fear.
I don't think that part when they were
Go
showing.
back and
So yes,
go back and rewatch it.
okay.
Go,
So even if that part is a part of it, they've kind of been teasing this all season long. Well, since Magneto is here, do you think it's all a fake out? So I will go back and see if the danger room thing is part of his fear vision, because for sure the next part is the whole like them melting into each other. But
no, though him melting into each other is in the bedroom when he walks in it.
for sure. So I know 100% that part is part of the fear vision, but
She
I don't
was
know,
literally
I'm
manipulating.
wondering if it's a fake out or not. The romance thing. Like, do you think they actually have a fling, or is this maybe he's
No, it
helping
was in
her
the last.
control her
No, it
powers?
was in the last episode too.
I know. So they're building
And
it up. But you see Remy drop the Queen of Hearts, like I don't know, and then you see his fear. He's definitely feeling it. Is it a fake out or is it a real thing?
we'll see
I'm
how
kind of
they
thinking at this
handle
point
it.
they've built it up that it's going to be a fake out, but let's see. I hope she's not doing Gambit dirty.
Well, to be fair, they also laid seeds of doubt with Scott and Jean, because you see in a vision with Jean's
Mhm.
hugging Wolverine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it is a fear. I guess that would be some of your worst fears come to life.
no, not in a fear. She
In
shares
which
a
vision then?
tearful no when she wakes up towards the end of the episode. She actually tearfully hugs Wolverine. That is a
Well, isn't that
nod to a potential another one.
fair enough? So you do think they are, which the Claremont era was pretty soap opera-y. There was the whole like, will they, won't they? There was the whole like,
Claremont's
third,
not just Claremont's era, but the X-Men 97 had this will they won't they get together.
for sure, and love triangle thing going on as well. So I don't know. It is interesting. I'm not sure if they're fully going that route or not, but
And there's so
I don't
much
know.
in this one. And it's funny, I
Yeah,
haven't seen a lot of YouTubers talk about this particular episode yet.
I
I've
think it
seen a
just came
lot.
out like 2 days ago or something. I think it
I
came out
have,
on like Wednesday.
I have seen people talk about like a lot of the Easter eggs from it, because it's just so much. Like, to me, it's information overload. I can process it, but not everybody could process it. So we'll move on to the next one. So
Fair enough.
now let's move on to the classic that is Roadhouse.
Okay. Let me ask you, what's your history with Roadhouse? The original, not this new one,
I
obviously.
thought, even though it was still, I watched it as a kid, and I always watched it as on Spike and in the 90s when it came up.
So I know that I would be the target audience for this. I love me some cheesy 80s action. I've seen probably every cheesy 80s action movie. For some reason, I just had this entire blind spot towards Roadhouse, and I don't know why. I've seen like every other Swayze one. I've seen Dirty Dancing like a million times, the one that he did like right before Roadhouse, but somehow I hadn't seen Roadhouse up until like, I don't know, 5 years ago or something like that. It's probably more like a decade at this point, but I saw it late. So like a lot of the 80s ones, I know like the back of my hand. I've seen a million times. They are super nostalgia for me. This one, I think I only saw like once, and it would have been like a decade ago. So, oh, Vincent Martin, how do we keep up with all this new stuff? Well, we carve out chunks of time to watch quality stuff, Vincent. You should do the same thing instead of your three body problem. Uh, which I would be interested to hear a little bit more of your thoughts on three body problem, but it sounds like you're going in deeper. But I guess I don't have the nostalgia factor for this one where like I don't know. A lot of those other 80s ones I do. So I can understand why people would hold this in like such reverence, but I got to be honest, until this week I'd only seen it once and it was quite a while ago. So my experience with it is kind of unique and not as nostalgic as it could be. So perhaps my glasses aren't the same as everybody who just holds this up as a classic. Like, sadly, I've seen like Over the Top, the arm wrestling movie, way, way more than Roadhouse. But I do enjoy the movie, but there's some parts that really don't work for me and really stand out as like super 80s, where I think there's quite a few who, they just know it from nostalgia and it is a classic and it's just their Swayze movie. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not the correct one to be reviewing this particular one since it doesn't have that like nostalgic value for me. But I gotta be honest, I might have a controversial take on this. I really dug the remake or the new imagining, the Jake Gyllenhaal version of it, way more than I thought I should. Vincent Martin, I can barely find the time to do half the stuff I do, but also am foolish enough to try to make edited YouTube videos. Hey, I'm in the middle of making so many stupid edited YouTube videos, but I like to start like 12 of them at the same time and then not finish any of them. So, you know, that also doesn't work. I am also foolish. I just what can I say? I could sleep or I could watch X-Men. I chose X-Men and Roadhouse. Also, what are you gonna do when you're lifting? You got to have something on in the background. Why not Roadhouse? So yeah, I watched both of these the other night, and I gotta be honest, I like the remake reimagining a little bit more. I think I did watch the original one. Two in the works. Come on, Vincent. You've been doing this longer than me. You should have like 20 in the works. I think that's what the real YouTubers do. You don't just have two videos that you're editing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to your edited versions of the three body problem. I think you were saying you were doing. It sounds like
I saw
Tiamat's
that
back.
last night. I saw him.
Yeah, it's an interesting show. If you do ever watch that, you might have feels on it. I would be really interested in finding out more from Vincent because I haven't read the book, but I did watch all the show, and I thought it was different from how I heard the story
He's
was.
more of a. You got to understand, Vincent's more of a reader. I mean,
that's awesome, man. Books.
I felt that was.
I
felt like he was more in his element though last night.
For sure. He seemed to really know everything about that. I want to grill him a little bit on it. But Tiamat, so you're a little bit more nostalgic on Roadhouse than I am. Like I said, I only saw it like once like a decade ago, and then I watched it this week where like most of those 80s ones I've watched like countless times. Like I don't know, if anyone were to touch like Big Trouble in Little China or some of those other ones, like I would just be over the top, man. Like those are perfect. Like you don't need to remake it, don't touch it. It's great.
No,
but
you need to.
I don't have that reverence for this one.
You need to bring back. You need to bring back the what is it? The killer trucks.
Yeah, we had a couple of them back then.
The demon possessed trucks.
Yeah, there was. Oh, now I'm blanking on all of them. There was like Maximum Overdrive, and there was another
Maximum
one.
Overdrive. Yes, that's the big one.
Yeah, but there was another one with trucks as well. I think they're both loosely based on Stephen King work, but yeah, man, I kind of dug those. But do you have like that reverence, that nostalgia? Do you think it's a travesty that Roadhouse got remade?
Actually, before we touch the original, I had to reference myself with it. So I was watching that today and this morning. Bear in mind, I can actually Vincent acts how I do stuff, but like To answer
Who
my
needs to
question,
sleep? We've got entertainment, man.
how I
What are you gonna do?
actually
Try and let
keep
your
up.
brain make some of that? No.
Oh, to be fair, right? I was at doing the same time trying to actually have a conversation in Discord this morning. So, yeah. Vincent, I'm sorry his ADHD brain can't do stuff. But it's like, how do I keep track of things? But no, like I watched both like this morning. Woke up, did the other, and then I'm not gonna lie, I eventually just crammed in X-Men '97 right when I was trying to finish up the remake for Roadhouse. Roadhouse in the '80s version is just classic '80s. Hello, DC. How are you? Well, we're not ladies, it's ladies and gentlemen. But you weren't in when talking to us in Hydra.
Yeah. I It would have been awesome, but yeah, I should have been in
So
that call too.
I'm trying to not steal the format from people, but like I'm just trying to, right? No one's really talked about Roadhouse, and I'm like, they can't possibly screw up Roadhouse. Roadhouse is campy as all hell.
I don't know, man. I don't think they screwed. So here's my controversial take. I like the Gyllenhaal one more, but I understand I'm not the one who has the reverence for this thing. That's what I wanted to see. Like, do you have the nostalgia for it? You said you used to watch it on TV and everything. I have a few of those that, like, if they touched like Die Hard or if they touched, like I said, Big Trouble in Little China,
Um,
I would be up in
the
arms.
thing
Like,
is,
no, they're
they're
perfect. Don't
so
do that.
different
Yeah,
because shout
it
out to
is not the
Finch.
same movie. It's not
Finch
just a
didn't
remake.
like the music, so the music it was very set, very much in the '80s.
Well, I guess as long as you're talking about the music, it is iconic, and that's one of my favorite parts of Roadhouse, the original. So Swayze has two different songs on that actual soundtrack, and he sings them himself. And then they've got is it the Jay Giles band? I'm blanking on who it is,
Jake
but it is
Healy,
no, sorry, Jeff Healy band.
Jeff Healy,
Sorry, yeah, my bad.
yes.
And they're the actual band in the film, so it's like that soundtrack is iconic and it's kind of one of a kind. I dig it. I don't think the soundtrack of this new one is nearly as good, and they definitely don't have Gyllenhaal singing two of the
No,
songs and
no, and
doing
it's
it like
two different
in
stories.
earnesty.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm
But as
gonna
long as we're
tell
talking
you,
soundtracks, the old one wins hands down.
but now, if you really want to touch on interesting parts between then and now, um, has Multi reviewed Roadhouse, the original?
No, sir. I watched this for my own pleasure for no reason. I was just up late at night lifting, and it's like, you know what? Yeah, that new Roadhouse just came out. And then once I finished that, it's like, okay,
Hmm.
now let me watch the old one.
I am sure
So
when DC reviews it, he's going to be horrified with his pure virgin eyes with all the '80s. You can tell between the difference between the '80s version
we
and
don't have
now.
the 80s superfluous out of nowhere nudity. That is an iconic part of the original. We don't have that going on in this remake. They're really not trying to remake it. They just have a couple of
No,
ideas that
no,
are
it's not a.
similar, but that's about it.
It's a reboot, but it's of it. But there's
But I mean, like,
things.
we don't even have the same character name or anything like that. Like, all we have is, I think this one, it's Elwood Dalton, excuse me, where he's just known as Dalton in the other one. But it's not supposed to be like any relation or anything like that. And it's just, it doesn't feel like it's the same world at all. The only similarity is there's a bar that there's, a lot of violence at, and they need to get somebody to cool that violence. That seems to be about the only similarities between these two.
It's weird when I look at the two versions. I do think Colin. Okay, I have to judge this very harshly in the beginning between the two. So over the course of the first one,
Oh, as
he
long as we're talking about the beginning, like seeing Post Malone in there as supposedly
no,
like the best bare knuckle brawler that there is. Yeah, that totally did not work for me in any
oh
way. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, I'm gonna hate this film so much. I like Post Malone. I do not see him as a bare knuckle
no,
brawler, and that did not
no.
work for me at all. So
Here's
sorry.
how
As
I
long as we're
found
talking
out
about
about.
the
Here's how I
beginning.
found out about this. So prior to the Fallout decks coming out from Magic, he was hyping himself up on various like of the commander shows he was on. Like or whenever he did this, he's like, "Yeah, see me. I'm in a movie coming up." And I'm like, "Oh dear God." Like I got a guest cameo in the remake of what is it? Crap. Roadhouse. I'm like doing what? Doing the fat bouncer? God,
I mean, I could
what?
see him as possibly like one of the bartenders or something like that, but yeah, instead they went Post Malone. I'm sure everyone's seen the physique that Jake Gyllenhaal has. They're putting it on like every one of the posters.
Oh, they
He is
quickly
supposedly
hide.
like a bare knuckle brawler, but yeah, instead they're going with Post Malone shirtless in this,
No,
who
he's so the origins are different, and he's right in that quick cameo. So I guess somebody's like, I'm gonna give this man a quick cameo.
hey
Um,
man, I could understand like then you get to put the Post Malones in your show, but have him as like the bartender for the place, or have him as like one of the guys betting on the side.
not
I don't see him as a bare knuckle brawler, but
now. The funny
yeah,
part
and the
is,
action in that wasn't done well either. When they show one of his previous fights right before we're introduced to Elwood Dalton.
yeah. It's a very different storytelling, and I can kind of dig both. I'm actually surprised by Jake Gyllenhaal's acting, but then again, I loved him in Jarhead, though.
I've loved him in a lot. What was the one? Southpaw, Jarhead. I even loved him in Donnie Darko back in the day, and hell, Bubble Boy. Yeah, man, I like Gyllenhaal. He has shown his chops a bunch of times, and then he's had a bunch of kind of weird movies as well, weird characters that he's played. But yeah, man, I thought he was awesome as this character. A lot of people hate like kind of how quiet and how smiley he is. Did his manners or did the character work for you?
I had when I looked at how they were telling the story, I I was kind of put off when Post Malone was shown first, and
Yeah, kind of extensively.
I'm like, please. So he's okay. So he's a UFC fighter who got like he. Let's say I'm thinking to myself. So he's a fighter that got disenfranchised or something,
Yeah.
and he's
But
going to be a UFC fighter here, and he's going to be doing the underground dive bar scene.
yeah, which I kind of think would be so. I guess there's a little bit of spoilers in here, but you kind of already know from the trailer, if you've seen that he used to be this UFC fighter. Somehow he got kicked out of the UFC. With this, it turns out it's a very tragic event, and it kind of makes sense to me. I liked where they went with it. But what would somebody who kind of only knows fighting and is trained to be this fighter and then can no longer fight in that method do? They would probably not just be like this famous bouncer, but they'd probably go to these underground fighting
I don't
rings,
know.
like
Would you
the
call
bare
Patrick
knuckle brawl.
Swayze's? Would you call Patrick Swayze's a bouncer versus he was
So
just
that's the thing.
a
He was a cooler in that one. Specifically, he's referred to as "I'm the cooler." So he's there to cool the joint down because it's obviously too hot. They've got to sweep up eyeballs at the end of the night. Um, I it's weird. So to me, this is a more believable world in a weird way, even though there's like explosions and whatnot going on in the
I,
reimagining. Where the
yeah.
original one, it's like I came here because you're the most famous bouncer in the world. We know all about your legend. Where, don't get me wrong, it's badass. I think he would have some of a reputation. Perhaps if you're in a nasty bar business, you would know other nasty bars where, fights break out. Maybe you would talk to somebody else and they'd say that. But it didn't seem like, like I have this personal referral from this guy. Instead, it's like, you're known
Oh,
as the best. So that seems a little far-fetched.
but
Like,
that's 80s cliche.
I get you. I get you. So it makes sense that they would kind of
Okay,
bring in a little bit
question
more
for you.
realism that
Question for you.
somebody just went to these underground fights to find someone to be a bouncer for him. Like that kind of makes sense to
I
me.
have a high
But
note.
sorry, what was your question?
Before we address this, how would you, in this whole way, how would you handle something like if anyone knows who 80s or was raised by their grandparents as I was, or been around them? How would you address the whole Rockford Files setting? Like, why would you recruit Columbo or the Rockford Files? The detective. He sounds rather bland.
Well, I mean, he's got, his ad in the Yellow Pages. That's why you'd get Jim Rockford. I don't know, man. I'm a stand for the Rockford Files. I absolutely love me some Jim Rockford. But yeah, I think it's
also
a little
really
different.
Good in Grumpy Old Men.
Oh yeah, man, he was awesome. I love it. And Maverick, such a good. James Gardner was awesome. But yeah, it doesn't have like that spark of realism to me. The whole like, I've heard you're the best ever, and then his response isn't like, where the hell did you hear that from? It's like, yeah, I have that reputation as the best bouncer in the world. So I don't know, but that being said, it's 80s, and you're right, it's over the top. Like I love the handshake in Predator.
Every part of it is over the top.
Yes, no, exactly, and I don't know if you could make that and have it not come off as a comedy today. So they had to go a completely different route with it. But
No,
I've been watching a bunch of really horrible action movies with on Multi's podcast. So like we've gone through
we
every one of
have
the
to
Fast and
play
Furious.
fair and Multi. If you see this is just constructive criticism.
I'm just saying, like,
not meaning mean.
Those guys know what I'm talking about. That I haven't enjoyed the Fast and the Furious that much. That I didn't enjoy like the Beekeeper. Although Multi really enjoyed the Beekeeper, but I don't know. Like I've seen a bunch of like horrible new school action movies.
Okay, let me say this on the Beekeeper. I haven't seen this, but here's the premise. I thought they went with that. They were going with the Jason Statham, where he was a hitman. He had to get his heart back, kind of thing. He's done this kind of role more than once before.
Yeah, it did feel like that, and then it also felt like a kind of.
What's the other movie?
I don't know if you want to say dollar store version of John Wick, but so he's done like The Mechanic, and he's done like Crank.
Yeah, The Mechanic. That's what the movie I couldn't think was.
It was like it feels like he's done this before.
Yes, it's very much the case, right? The Mechanic.
But the only reason why I was bringing those up is like they're kind of modern action movies, and it's not like John Wick, where it was a phenomenon that's like amazing. I don't think this one's going to be that. They're not like reinventing the wheel, but I dug this a lot more than a lot of those modern action.
It's a formula. So Roadhouse also you also see in the old Roadhouse, even though stuff is happening around the town, he's like the guy doing bar rescuing the bar.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even in the 80s one, like, it's a little over the top. Like, the bad guy has somebody drive a monster truck through, like, somebody's car dealership.
Car dealership.
I don't know that you're necessarily going to get away with that, even if you own the town. So, I mean, like, there's a lot of, like, over the top. Like, if you try to do something like that today, I think it would come off so cheesy. Where I kind of like what's happening in this one.
Do you remember the movie Walking Tall? That's actually based on an actual real story.
There's the Rock version, and then there's what the hell is his name? He's got a 3-name name, 2 first. He like Joe Don Baker, who did the original one. I dig both of them, but which one were you referring to?
I mean, both. That's actually subtly based on a real story where a guy went and cleaned up a town.
Yeah, with a 2x4. That's awesome.
No, it's funny. That's actually based on a semi-true story. Mostly, yeah, that was his thing.
Hell yeah.
So the concept of it is, so the Roadhouse remake, it feels weird to me. Like, I'm gonna be honest, it it's not a bad film. I had a whole thing where um I was like, can Jake Gyllenhaal pull off this role? I'm like, mm. It gave me the vibes like what was it? Jack Reacher, played by the Jack Reacher movie.
So the Tom Cruise one. Sorry, my doorbell just rang. My dogs are freaking out. Sorry, I'll be right back. But I hated the Tom Cruise ones. Love the show.
So you need the actor to sell the story. And I didn't hear really bad things about Roadhouse. It's a different retelling. The thing about Roadhouse is it's atmospheric. Really? 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 But you also liked, what was it? You liked CW shows.
Oh, sorry. I thought I had the dogs done barking. Apparently, I got a package randomly. He does like some of the. He does like some of that CW ones.
This is my.
I've never been a fan of those.
I have said. I have actually said that I like reviewing good shows. And I love how he took constructive criticism and says he doesn't hate review. I'll believe it when I see it. But granted, the movies you touch, like for this, I'm covering X-Men 97. Greg can bear witness. How often have I praised both Shogun and X-Men 97 before it was released? I said
I know you definitely said like it could be good when I was saying like I'm apprehensive. Like, is this?
Do you remember when I heard about it? I said I was going to either watch it. I also said Shogun was going to be good, and it turned out
you did, really and you also told me Masters of the Air was going to be amazing. I still need to catch up on that one as well, but I don't see how they'd screw that up.
But you know how when I said this is good, I'm like, I'm going to review this. Now, I like to have someone else do it. You can ping ideas off of, because Masters of the Air is one of it. Shogun, right? Jokes aside, the reason I bring that up, everyone's missing it. Like they'll catch it up later on, but usually when I back my thing around a movie or a TV show, I'm watching it because I have genuine interest in it.
For sure. I love it when I get to do that. That's what I'm doing with like X-Men 97, where a lot of the shows and stuff I've been watching, I have been watching because they're on a list, not because I want to. So I don't know. This has been kind of fun.
You can understand. That's his format.
But I was expecting to hate this.
My format is utterly different than his. Mine is.
For sure.
The thing is, X-Men 97, like I said, I was going to review X-Men 97, and I'm going to review Fallout. So
that one I'm not as confident is going to be good. I
have no idea.
I hope it is. I hope you don't get a Halo, man, because I just had to sit through
we're all hoping Halo it's not
that
Halo.
I absolutely hated.
No. The thing is, how did you like that Arbiter fight in the season finale?
Man, I hated so I was saying there's like the potential for 2 good episodes. It was not a good episode. I really hated a lot of it. Really, out of the 2 seasons, there's like 1 1/4 good episodes.
And how do you like? Yeah, and also, how do you like? Covenant human woman saves the Arbiter.
Yeah.
This is not where you die. I'm not going to tell him to finish me off.
Well, I mean, he does.
I can't. I'm not even going to touch that series with a 10-foot pole.
Somehow you're able to see his face, even though he's wearing his helmet now. So, hey, they did exactly what everybody wanted out of the show.
No, he has his other one. He's like full. No, but
I
no,
know, but sorry.
Roadhouse. You
Let's not talk about that horrible
five.
one. Let's talk
No,
about this
no.
good show.
So you have the. So when I say I review a show, this is my format. I heard Roadhouse was potentially like mixed, but I'm like, I'm going to give it a chance. And I gave this a chance. Now, the opening credit with Post Malone gave me some pause, and having a broken down UFC fighter in a dirty car who
To
just
me,
gets
that
stabbed outside of a bar.
so that works for me. I mean, like in the other one, you have Swayze getting stabbed inside of a bar, but you have kind of a similar type of deal.
But not with
They
a
both
knife
fix
just
themselves
hanging
up.
out of you. And like,
Well, I mean, it you had to go a little bit more hardcore. Swayze just gets cut across his shoulder, I think, and then
no, he gets gashed, but he doesn't think he's bleeding.
well, but Elwood gets like a full puncture knife wound
Like,
just stuck in the side of him.
did that go into your kidney or something? You okay? No. But there's jarring moments which are odd, and I don't want to go with the train.
For sure.
He puts himself onto the train track to commit.
I like that a lot,
seppuku.
and I get it, and it kind of it's kind of like rolling the dice, and it's like, okay, well, fate has made up its decision. I get that. I can understand why that's super turn off some people, but I don't know, man. I like that depiction. I think it shows you the headspace that he's in, that he doesn't give a shit about his safety or his self-worth. But I don't know, man. I dig it. Did it work for you, or did you hate that whole thing? Because I've heard that scene in particular, a few people have complained
The
about.
beginning is weird.
Fair enough. For me, the Post Malone part is weird, but I dig the train part. I get it.
He's the best. And then you have like the funny part is in the bar, they see Jake Gyllenhaal's character, right? And then Post Malone's character is like, "This is supposed to be rigged. I'm supposed to be winning." And then I don't know.
To the point where you can't trust a fixed fight anymore. What has this world gotten to?
And there's just that transition. You could arguably say there's like maybe some of the casting. I just let the casting go where it needed to go, and I'm like, I'll say this.
I guess speaking of the casting, as long as we're doing that, what about the other controversial casting?
So instead of the white businessman, it's this weird reggae, like black Caribbean woman.
Comes the owner of the bar.
Yeah.
I can see that though. Like, so she didn't create the bar. She is younger, but she inherited the bar from her father. It seems to be the only like thing that she has left, so she doesn't want to let go of it. Someone is putting the pressure on her to sell it so that they can have control of the land. That kind of makes sense to me. I don't know. Did you hate that change?
I wanted to see how they sold it.
To me, they sold it like, so she is supposed to be a strong woman, and she is a strong woman.
See, okay.
You don't see her like fight, and you don't see her like, just throw around guys. Instead, it's like, she's strong in that she's not just going to give up, even though they're trying to strong arm her out of her business.
Okay, so
and then she knows what to do is to hire some, some heavy guns if you can. And she's heard legend of Jake Elwood, the fighter. Elwood Dalton, the fighter, excuse me. So I don't know. To me, it kind of makes sense. But do you hate the casting and the whole strong woman thing?
Let me say this. I felt the build up to the characters, even though it's cheesy 80s action flick level. You still see a photo on a desk. You still see a picture on the wall. Like, it shows he's not purely a dummy, that he can take it into the environment.
Yeah. For me, it works, but I can understand why a lot of people would be like, no, this change is too weird. You're trying to make it modern. I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem like they're trying to like push like super representation in that way, or like it seems unbelievable or anything like that. It's like, yeah, it's an island. Like, I could definitely see somebody owning a business and handing it down to their kid.
It looks like an absolute dump.
Yeah, true. I mean, like, it's kind of nice. It's on the beach, but yes, it is kind of dumpish.
That whole town is seaside surfer dumpdom. And I'm like, how are they
So,
going to do this?
granted, out of like almost all the businesses that you do see, I don't think any white people own businesses where there were a lot of white people in the original one. Like the car dealership is a dude, the auto parts thing is
It's
a
set
white
in the middle
dude.
of Kansas in the 80s.
Yeah, for sure. So it kind of makes sense.
A
So I don't know.
countryside town that is an atmospheric thing. There's a car dealership. And he's like, but I guess he comes from a line of bouncers or enforcers. There's like a mystical aspect to him. And I'm like, okay. But that was 80s action flicks, though. Okay.
Yeah, and you also have to have like the mentor
God.
guy and all those 80s action flicks like
And by
Dutch
the
and
way,
Dylan,
who
there
was the
was a
mentor?
mentorship.
And who was the
Sam
mentor?
Elliott, man, the best. Like he is the man. I absolutely love that character.
How many legendary roles?
Dude, Sam Elliott's the man. I'm trying to think of like an actor that's more legendary than that. And dude,
Like I
he's
remember
just the
him
man.
more from Tombstone and other stuff. I was like, how much
Oh, for
has this
sure.
stuff has this man been in that I have
It's
seen?
just like the random narrator in Lebowski. I just love Sam Elliott anytime I see him. But yeah, so we don't have that character in this new one. There is no mentor guy. Like he probably had a UFC coach, but we never see that person.
So
He's just a loner in this one.
so
So
it's
that's a
weird.
different thing.
I'm not going to go through it entirely, but my thoughts are like you see him get to the bar, right? And he single-handedly takes out these weird bikers who look like the side gang out of Sons of Anarchy, the Mayan
So
son of
he does it somewhat violently, but pretty comically. Well, I guess before we get to that, there's another character that we kind of meet that is somewhat controversial to some.
Charlie.
Uh,
Not
is
Charlie.
Charlie the
Little bookstore girl.
Oh, okay. I was thinking the bartender lady. I know that there's been a couple people that kind of had an issue with
No,
her as well.
that's when you meet the bartender that looks like the main actress who ruins everything she's in. And
She does
from
kind of give you a Ghostbuster vibe, for
No,
sure.
who is that actress? I know of her. Sarah McCarthy.
Yeah, now I'm blanking.
Sarah
Yeah, McCarthy. Not Sarah, Melissa McCarthy.
She ruined
Yeah.
everything she's ever in. I
So
swear.
she is a Melissa McCarthy type in this one, but I thought it was kind of funny. It's the whole like Cuban coffee thing. It's like he's like, give me black coffee. They're like, we don't have any of that. And it's like, well, you're drinking out of a mug though. Like, what are you drinking? It's like, oh, that's Cuban coffee. It's like, okay, give me one of those. And then yeah, I don't know if you've ever had Cuban coffee. It is strong, man. That shit is like jet fuel. So
Yes,
I can understand why that happened, but the way that they set that up, I thought she was going to be an annoying character and everything. I actually really like that character in this film. She works for
You're
me.
not used to strong coffee? How dare you?
I loves me some strong coffee.
You don't
But
like
yeah, that stuff's like
dark.
jet fuel.
No, like I more drink dark coffees than I drink anything else. So
Yeah, I love that stuff. And then I don't know
So
if you've ever
I
had
am
like Middle
used
Eastern
to
coffee
strong
that's like thick, but I love strong coffee, man.
So the
But
thing is, it does pay homage to kind of the original story, but I'm like, how does
for
it
sure,
compare side by side? Because like with
it's like
Shogun,
the loosest of connections. Like it really is not the same thing other than bar that's many fights. We need to get it bounced.
now I would recommend DC try to find you. I don't know if you're used to dark coffee, like Southern coffee, like community coffee, if you can find it. See if you could find chicory coffee.
Oh,
New
chicory
Orleans.
coffee's awesome, man.
What is it, like New Orleans style coffee? But
I think so. It takes out that acidity in a good way. I really like that stuff.
well, the problem is, what is it? French roast coffee is entirely too acidic. But depends. But no, you have this. It's a bar. It's very different than the man's trying to build like the business, because that's the difference over the other one. Even though, right? Like I think how you meet people, you kind of see it. Like I like the scene that he knows he's the fixer in the old one compared to like the new one, and they go, "I thought you'd like be bigger," kind of thing. Like, and there's the scene like in the original where he goes into the bar to see. It's kind of like if you've ever seen the show Bar Rescue. Like,
Yeah.
he walks in, he doesn't say he's coming. He just says there, sits in a corner, observes the place, and he goes,
Mm-hmm.
well, this is what you fucked up. This is what you fucked up. Your
And
shit.
that's kind of what happens with this one too, but you get the coffee thing first, but he doesn't announce that he's the fixer or anything like that. I kind of dig it, but they're both different. But yeah, I could see if you didn't know that they're supposed to be kind of the same scene, not relating them at all. But I don't hate the way it's done.
It doesn't come
but
off.
I agree with you. So then these guys start trouble, and he actually decides to step in.
Now you
Did
got
you
the
hate
now
that scene at all? Because I've heard a lot of people hated the comedy
Which
in
one?
that.
Which one?
So when Elwood first steps up to the bad guys,
They look
when you meet the biker
I
gang.
gotta say this. They look like really bad bikers. Someone who ever came up with this scene watched Sons of Anarchy and saw the Mayans and then got the characters mixed up.
Yeah. I thought it worked for me comedic wise, where like he tries to get the guy to go outside, the guy won't do it, and he's like, are those your bikes outside? And then just like walks outside, and they automatically follow because you're not just gonna let some dude mess up your bike. I don't know. For me, that worked. And then the whole
You know
ask
why
if
that
got insurance
is?
thing.
Do you know why that is?
Why is that?
Assuming they're
Herman?
part of a biker gang.
Oh yeah, and it insinuates that they are, but you never see any like additional ones or reinforcement or anything like that.
They're like a biker
unclear
gang.
If they're just henchmen on bikes or if they are a biker gang.
But they might be like lowly biker people who aren't good enough to be in like true 1%ers clubs. And I really, if I can give anyone street advice to ever, and this is one thing Kurt Strutter got right with Sons of Anarchy, never touch another man's bike, especially if they look like they could be bikers. They are not very nice about this. But he knows that I'm like, when I got the context right, is that your bike? I'm like, oh, so this is how.
Well, that's why it rang to me true that it's like, okay, so these guys aren't going to go outside. They're not going to stop trashing the bar just to talk to you outside, but that would get them outside. So I don't know. It worked for me. And then I liked the humor
outside.
that he was using.
That's going to get you very much outside. Because I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, so he's going to kick over the bikes and they're all going to come running out, all pissed at him.
Yep. I thought we were going to have like a Pee Wee Herman situation, or it's the trope's been used many times where it's like, you touch the bikes, your ass is going to be kicked. Now, he didn't actually touch the bikes, which was great, but that was just what he used to get them outside. And then the whole like, do you guys have insurance? I just want to check beforehand. You guys have insurance? To me, that totally worked. And then, I liked the action in the fight. You can tell that he is way more trained than these like street hooligans. He is able to like sidestep their punches and just slap the shit out of each one of them. I really liked it, man. Again, seeing like a bunch of these crappy action movies.
It's not the comedical. They come at him one at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you would assume that with a gang of people, they would be able to kind of overpower you by not waiting turns, but I kind of dug it. To me, like it still is action movie, like this isn't 100% reality, but I don't know, it kind of worked for me. And his size is pretty incredible in this one. I know he's put on a shitload of muscle before for like Southpaw, and I think even Jarhead he was pretty ripped for. But yeah, man, he was in incredible shape in this one. It is kind of intimidating shape.
That's what and the cynical Finch. I'm like, he actually worked on his physique in this. Jesus.
I'm pretty sure he had some sort of enhancement, if you will, but damn, dude, he definitely put the work in. Well, but there's like some pictures of him online from a few months ago where he wasn't super ripped. And then,
do you remember back when there was like for even Stallone to get back into the role of Expendables, he had to use roids. And he's like, "Well, I
Yeah,
didn't use
well,
roids." Yes, you did.
I would assume most of these people are enhanced in some way, but yeah, it was pretty amazing. And his co-star as well. There's been kind of some controversy about how little Conor McGregor's been tested in the recent past.
Oh no, no,
That
you're
they've been
not
very
even
nice to
two.
him.
I spotted that as
So,
Colin. You know what? I actually had to look up Colin McGregor
oh well, it's
in
Conor,
recent
man, Conor McGregor, but
yeah.
he's awesome, dude.
I had to go look him up recently because I'm like, I don't remember him being this big.
He was not. And there's been kind of a controversy of that where it's like
I'm
you
like,
have certain
he
UFC
was not
fighters
this
tested like
big.
20 times, and he was tested like one time in the last year or something like that.
Hmm.
I'm not using the real numbers, but it's something as ridiculous as that. And this is him coming back after having his leg broken. So you'd think you'd want to test somebody when they're kind of recovering and then just suddenly putting on like 50 pounds of muscle. But fair enough.
Because
That dude was also jacked.
But to be fair, this aside, the MMA vibes thing, like I go, that can't be Conor McGregor. I had to stop it, Google it with him and what
It
he looked
was,
like
man.
within the last year, and I'm like, that's Colin McGregor.
I guess we're getting a little ahead of ourselves with the Conor McGregor thing, but yeah, we'll be talking about him in just a second.
But there's a lot of good cameos in this film.
Yeah. But did the humor take you out of it? So I heard, so I was primed to hate this. I'd only watched like two of them and two reviews, and they basically said like they've completely ruined it. They're trying to make the fight scenes comical, and then it was specifically pointing out this one, like the slap fight, and then the aftermath of the fight where he's driving them to the hospital.
Let's look if they try to duplicate the fight and set it inside the bar, outside the bar. All right. Put me here for a little bit. It's literally not that bad. He literally takes advantage of one guy. It's not drawn out like the 80s version.
Yeah.
He catches the guy off guard. Like, this is why I would not entirely ever screw with an actual MMA fighter, a trained fighter.
No, dude, if they know how to grapple and if they can, even a wrestler, man, like if they know any sort of like submission holds, you're screwed. The old
one because like he kills the one guy by like ripping out a section of his throat.
Not just one guy, man. And that was what I was going to talk about with the comedic fighting. Like it's not seen as comedic, but people know legend of Dalton, the bouncer, and the rumor has it that he ripped one guy's throat out once. And then in the culmination of that movie, we get to see it happen another time. So at least twice he's done that.
So you're talking like a trained fighter who catches the guy off guard, cripples his hand. Like anyone who's ever played like the Arkham games, like when they Batman disables a guy.
Yeah, it definitely it has vibes of that for sure.
It's like he takes it and then he fights the guy, catches the one guy off guard, and I guess he thinks, oh, this is just an average Joe blow. What can he do? Literally cripples the guy. Literally just. And I'm like, okay, this is actually someone knows fighting and actually shows it. And my whole thing is
the fight scenes in this, but
and then you miss the part right after that. It's very quick, very fluid. He gives a little guy, tries to fix his stance, catch the guy off guard. And then he drives him to the hospital to get fixed. And I'm just like, I actually laughed about that. I was like,
I thought so too. I dug the comedy.
So they splintered the guy's arm with a Coors box.
Well, so there's been a couple people online, well, more than a couple, but they hated the fact that like, okay, so he just beat up these people and then he's going to drive them to the hospital, like, and they make a big deal about like how far away is the hospital.
Asked him to
just
drive
to make sure
him to the hospital, and they get there.
But yeah, they made kind of a big deal about that. He could have been ambushed. He's got three guys sitting behind him. They totally could have beat him up on the way. And it's like, yeah, but he's like physically hurt each one of these guys, broken their arms and stuff.
He
And he
just
was nice about it before. He said it was going to happen. And he made
he
it happen.
literally just broke a guy's arm in a scene.
Yeah, well, he asked him before, like, okay, and how far away is the hospital? And they're like, it's 25 minutes. He's like, okay. So yeah, then I think the scene plays out perfectly for me. But
Yeah.
I've heard the criticism. I think it was specifically Drinker was saying, like it's so unbelievable that he would drive them to the hospital because he'd be totally open for an ambush while they're sitting behind him. And
To
it's like,
be fair, he was actually asked. There's that little look from the head owner chick that's like,
yeah, she did
"Hmm."
not want him to borrow her car to drive them, but
No,
he
it's the
made her
look
give.
of don't screw with these guys. Don't
Mhm.
do it too bad. If you do it, he goes, oh, it kind of gave that look like if something happens, I'll help them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know. It works for me, but yeah, I could totally see why some
I can
people don't
summarize
like
this
that
quickly.
comedy. But
I
I
don't
would I
like
would
the
argue that comedy was there with like the throat ripping. Like I have not laughed at him ripping out the guy's throat. Do you think that's supposed to be comedy in the first one? Because maybe I just have a dark sense of humor, and I've
Well,
always
to
taken that
be
as like
fair,
extreme
that's
comedy.
right after he had went to his bar and found out his not only has he been tried to get killed once or twice, try to get the girl to go away with him. He just found his friend like
No, for sure. He took out Sam Elliott, which
killed.
is something that you never do. Never fuck with
Well,
Sam
this was
Elliott.
right after he tried to bomb the guy's house he was staying at.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I'm not saying it wasn't warranted. I just always thought that was a comedic fight scene where he literally rips out the dude's throat.
Well, there's actually
Uh,
more like little bit of like you always have the one like main martial arts villain to fight the
mhm.
martial artist. Like,
And I yeah.
okay, you know what was comedical to me, like in the first. So you see like when Wesley goes to the bar right after Wesley goes with his like guy, he's doing the whole thing. His martial arts guy, he goes, yeah, you should keep your pet on the leash. And then he summons his pet martial artist. And
Yeah.
the one guy, all the bouncers are like, you want me to actually fight this guy?
Yeah.
And they clear the dance floor like very 80s style, and then the bouncers
Totally
all
over the top.
fight them. And he's like, I guess he was trying to test the guy, but you don't think he's trying to test the guy.
And if I remember right, wasn't the band still playing the whole time that they're
Yes.
testing each other on the dance floor?
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, it's super 80s and I love it, but like some of that, like that is comedic action. So I don't feel like it's that much different with him like slapping and doing some one-liners and telling them like I'm gonna break your arm, I'm taking you to the hospital, so tell me how far away is it? And then I don't know, I enjoyed that very much. But he beats these guys so badly that they need
there's
to bring
some
in
differences,
reinforcements.
right? Now, I don't know if I bite because the scene of him driving, you could probably say he wouldn't help the guy out. I'm like, he probably got told to do it.
Well, and this is what it seems like it is his idea, and the bar owner is not happy that he's taking her car to go take these guys to the hospital. But then we get kind of similar to the old version. Again, he meets a lovely doctor at the hospital, but she seems to be pissed in this one. So I guess she is. They both are upset in both of them, but in this one, I get more of like an honest. She's pissed off that out of nowhere he's bringing in all these emergencies. Where like in the other one, it is sarcastic, but she's like, "Thanks for bringing in all this business."
You don't realize she's the sheriff's daughter.
Yeah, that is not told to you in this one like right away, but I kind of dig it. That part works for me, and then her interest in him, that kind of works for me. It's not like out of nowhere, where in the original it does kind of seem out of nowhere, where this beautiful doctor who just met this weird guy who stitched himself up
No,
uh
this is where we should have Miss Sparkles in the comment section.
was gonna that would be awesome if Sparkles does want to comment on this. But to me, it seems weird that this super, I don't know if I'd say well-to-do, but she is
So a
an
buff
educated and nice lady,
doctor.
would go to this dive bar because she knows the bouncer there. I don't know that I fully buy that
Okay,
she would
all right.
hover in this world to see
Let's
Dalton in the original.
let's explain their initial the difference. You got to look at them side by side. I'm like, I wanted to see how they would reference it. So he goes to there after realizing he's been stabbed, knowing he's going to need stitches. Okay. The
In the original,
the doctor,
he knows that.
she's an educated doctor,
Mhm.
and she's not an unattractive woman. Like, you know what's funny?
No,
80s,
very
80s
attractive,
hot,
and she
80s,
aged quite well too.
80s hot kind of thing. Now, the thing of she's looking at the guy, he has his shirt off. You can tell she's doing the whole thing, eyeing him up, like, you look more injured. You want me to take a look at you? And
Yeah,
my thing is, I'm like, oh, this is the 80s trope. I'm going to have you take off your shirt or whatever, and I'm going to, like, eat you up like eye candy.
and
Fine.
I think that's where you use this second reference, where I think when he says what he does, I think she says like, "Oh, I would have thought you'd be bigger," or something like that. But there's another reference to like, him not being as big as a normal bouncer should be.
But it's like,
But yeah, you can definitely tell that she's kind of ogling him, undressing him with her eyes, or at least basking in his toplessness.
and now,
Fair enough.
and
I get that. And then, but do you get that like this well-to-do doctor would slum it at the double deuce?
to be fair, I mean, you didn't realize that she is working. I guess she didn't know that's where he was a bouncer, right?
I think
But
he does tell her that and asks her to come by sometime because she comes directly to see him at the double
okay,
deuce. And
this is
he happens to be kicking someone's ass at the time. She watches that and then is like,
oh
oh,
no,
hey.
she's off watching, like her jaw hits the floor. It's like,
For sure.
so you got to look at it. It's part of how two characters get together, but it's also so over the top as well. So,
Which is totally what that movie is to me. And I love it. It is a classic, but
oh come on! And you know
it,
what? The scene that I wanted, I was hoping the scene they would try to translate over would be the when Wesley comes in and tries to entice Dalton at the bar, like with the naked woman.
mm.
Like,
So there's a lot of superfluous nudity in the original. I don't think any
but
nudity at
that
all
was
in this one.
allowed though. It gets censored on like when you see the movie on TV now. But
Fair enough. You do get a lot of topless Gyllenhaal, which he's looking super jacked in this one.
come
So
on, that's eye. And
fair
you
enough.
brought the what have we said on multis? That's topless eye candy. How dare you? Female gaze.
But I don't know. So I guess did you dislike? So we talked about it, but Elwood Dalton had been stabbed in that opening part, so he just had duct tape over it. So when he brings in these guys, the doctor sees the blood on his shirt and then is giving him hell for bringing in all these guys, but notices that he is stabbed. So then she has to fix the wound. That to me kind of makes sense. Of course, you would need surgery. That's not just stitching it up. Like that's,
He
I,
stabbed
I
through
don't
the
think she would
side.
let it go. But that kind of works for me as opposed to I liked it a little bit more than the classic one.
Okay, I'll write this off as he knows how to get stabbed, not in a vital area.
Yeah, he's got those skills from UFC. But okay, so now he's completely taken out the force that these guys had. So they've got to bring in the next round. And I don't think so. I think there's one more round of bad guys that come to this bar before we meet like the big bad. and they also fail. I don't remember anything specific about that fight. Do you? The
No,
one
and
in
you
between
forget
when they
how
meet
they
McGregor.
introduced Colin McGregor. Colin McGregor's
Well, so I don't think they bring him in yet, right? Isn't there like one more battle and then that doesn't work, so then they bring in Conor
yeah.
McGregor?
Hmm.
Which I'm totally blanking on that
No,
middle
no,
battle. So
they
there are
have
parts of
him.
it that
They
aren't that
have
great.
another group of bikers buzz the bar,
Yeah, I think that's all it is. And
and then
it's not that memorable or anything like that.
there's like another little mini fight kind of thing that occurs.
And then I think you get to meet the town a little bit more or something in there. I think there's some more building, and then all of a sudden we get to okay, we're doing isn't enough. This guy is super. We need to bring in a hired hitter. And apparently the main bad guy, his father hires Conor McGregor and doesn't tell the main bad guy that we know, the guy in jail who's running the
Well,
whole
you forget
operation.
though. He goes, "I hear you have issues in town," and he chunks his phone.
That's true. This very spoiled rich guy, he's letting his
Okay,
father's
so here's
house
what
go
it
to
is.
shit.
Oh, here's what it is.
And
No, it goes. So the fights at the bar mentors the other bouncers to become popular, I guess, whatever. An attempt
and I've
by
heard
the
that people are not happy with the mentoring of the. You're right. That's where there is the montage of him kind of training the other
after an
bouncers on how
attempt
to
by the gang
toss
leader
someone.
Dell finds him laying in wait at his boathouse. Dell gets so that's the second part fight. Dell tries to. Oh no, you forgot.
I totally forgot. Yeah, sorry, we skipped over a huge chunk of this.
He's walking
We
over the road. They try to back him off and bury him underneath a truck on the.
That's true. I totally forgot about that part. That is somewhat memorable. And then I forgot we also have the Alligator Lives Matter part that we totally glossed over. So for no reason, he sees this houseboat as he is walking to the bar, and he asks the bar owner about it, and she's like, "Oh yeah, like I inherited that too. You can stay there." But when he goes to that dock, they warn him, "Be careful. There's a gator that lives under this dock." So there's this looming gator, this Chekhov's gator that's kind of looming around. After they try to knock him off the bridge, they pay him one more visit. The main leader of these bikers pays him one more visit at his boat and brings a gun along with him. And I think this kill is a little over the top. I don't know if they quite needed this.
He gets knocked overboard.
He
gets knocked overboard. Then he gets attacked by the gator.
Yeah. I don't know if you necessarily need a gator attack in this one too, but I forgot that happens. Then I think that's why they bring in Conor McGregor.
No, what happens is he starts to get attacked. The gator actually clamps down on him in fear of his life. He pulls the gun out that he has and he shoots the gator. I guess that's how you get to it. Let's be clear.
Gator lives matter.
And then there's more of the scene of like when they introduce like a lot of part of it, right? You know, this is where the part of the film after you get this build up, you get the backstory to him. All they say is about Knox is a psychotic enforcer, right? He basically gets whatever. So when you introduce him, he had just been caught or kicked out of a bungalow by a girl. He's walking completely naked.
You can hear the woman and a man arguing. So it appears he was possibly caught in the act and just left out the window naked, but he's willing to answer his phone.
He just walks out naked, no clothes, just walks out through a bar, and everyone is just looking at him. It's a scene.
And then he answers his phone, and that's kind of awesome. And they ask him what he's doing. And I thought it was a funny line. He says, "I'm just clothes shopping." And then just immediately knocks out a dude and takes his clothes. I thought that was awesome.
God, he just knocks out a guy, goes, "Nice coat." And the guy's intimidated, right? I'm like, someone's going to make a small dick joke or something here, and it'd be funny. But, like, and then the tiki bar is burnt down.
Yeah.
Oh,
I loved it, man. Did you have a problem with the entrance or the introduction to the main baddie in this one?
I think he wanted to be a Bond villain. He wanted to be a
I think
Bond.
so too, but to me, like I thought it was pretty epic. To me, it's on par with the whole like The Rock flexing out of his cast. Like, no, it's what I want in like an over the top like cheesy villain. Now, I've heard a whole bunch of criticism
He
towards
feels
Conor
like a James
McGregor's
Bond.
performance here.
He feels like. Here's the thing: Conor McGregor's acting is a lot better than the main villain's acting because he comes off as a combination of a spoiled brat and a person who literally just, what is it? He's like a James Bond villain.
Yeah, and he does have that super over the top kind of cartoon character. He's even got like an over the top walk. Like if you really were like, okay, how would a bad guy
Okay, the
walk? Like
first
super
talk.
exaggerate that.
I'm not.
That's how Conor McGregor moves.
Here's the
So
thing.
a lot of people hate him. So you saying that like his acting is better than the other guys, that might be controversial. I got to be honest. Every part about his character worked for me.
Actually, Conor McGregor's basically acting was better. The thing is, okay, he gets shaved. He's trying to use a person uses straight razor to shave him on a boat.
Yes, I forgot about that. So the main bad guy, the spoiled kid who has inherited his dad's business while his dad's in jail and is letting like the house go to rot and like all these bikers take it over. This guy decides that he needs to have somebody do a straight razor shave on him while he's
on a boat
in the ocean. Yeah, while it's swaying. Yeah, you're right. That seems stupid, but to me, there's like little things like that that's like, oh, that's so stupid. But
I'm like, it
I don't know. The Conor
establishes him
McGregor
as-
stuff works. It's just over the top in the right
I'm
way
like,
for me.
there's
He is
just-
a cartoon villain, but I love it.
You gotta understand on this part, right? It's pretty much. I'm like, so this is how you're gonna introduce the main rich villain. Okay. First off, as a person who has seen or used a straight razor before, you're not. It's real easy to cut yourself. Almost like, so this guy is trying to establish he's an absolute alpha unit by getting a straight razor shave on a boat.
Not only that, but he seems to be really reprimanding the guy who is shaving him. And if he does nick him, you know that there's going to be hell to pay.
We've all seen,
yeah.
no, and to make fun of Multi again, we've all seen the death montage scene where the guy gets killed in the barber shop by the barber.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, there's some movies that do that quite well and like build up the tension there. But yeah, this just kind of seems to be like this throwaway thing. But getting back to Conor McGregor, I guess, a lot of people just have an issue with how over the top he is, like from everything from his walk to just like how crazy he is. I don't know. To me, I love how unhinged and just like crazy he is compared to, Dalton or Elwood Dalton's kind of over the top, just casualness. The fact that he's smiling while all this shit is going down, he just doesn't seem to care. This Conor McGregor character, now I'm blanking on his name.
I'll be honest.
He also doesn't seem to care, but in a much different way, a much scarier, much crazier way.
Well, to be fair,
it,
this film falls apart towards the middle and last act for me.
Ooh, for you, where is that? I'm trying to think of what the middle part is.
I'll be honest, the culmination of the Knox fight,
Knox. I could not remember his name. Thank you, the Knox fight. There is one part that does kind of ruin it for me too, and it is kind of the
he
double
learns
cross. We were just kidding, but then we're not kidding thing. That doesn't work for me. So I thought maybe that was what you were going to talk about.
Well, you get the first part where he goes into the bar, like that is literally a bar. Like you get the also the reveal that Ellie is the sheriff's daughter, and he knows she knows that her father is basically bought and paid for.
Mm-hmm. Yep. In this one, much like the other one, it seems like they've got the sheriff under their thumb. This town doesn't seem nearly as big as, the one from the original movie, where it seems like you'd have to buy out like an entire police force to be able to again, crush entire car dealerships worth of.
But
merchandise, but maybe I'm wrong.
but he does it, and I guess Knox fights, and I guess the fight ensues, and I guess you can see like instead it's this time it's Knox sizing up him, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
funny, by the way, like I do like his introduction to the guy because the son doesn't know his father hired this enforcer
Uh-huh. And it's
versus
kind of a
in,
surprise to everyone at the mansion that
oh, he
he's
just walks
letting all
in and he
these
goes,
guys destroy as well.
Who is this guy? Oh, this is a nice sandwich. And the guy's like,
I think he takes like 5 guys sandwiches in that scene. Yeah, man, I dig it. To me, it's a fun intro. Where they lose me is, so now you know that she is the daughter of the sheriff, but they need to entice Elwood Dalton out to the boat by telling him they've kidnapped her, and then they have the sheriff on the boat. So you know that they must have lied, except for he then double crossed the sheriff, and he does actually have her on the boat. I don't know. That part all seemed horrible to me. There are parts of it that kind of fall apart, like the.
well, you forget the part where he gets arrested and taken to the boat.
Yeah. No, I get that, but I don't know. Just like the fact that he would double cross like the sheriff of this town by actually kidnapping his daughter. I don't know. That doesn't seem to quite work for
It's a
me.
little
But
bit different than your other because the pacing is different. Like versus
for
the
sure.
bars getting rebuilt, and then after a while, Wesley gets really pissed off and goes, "It's either going to be Elizabeth or what is it, Wyatt that gets killed, or Garrett gets killed."
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, and then it finally ends up with where he finally is pushed way too far over the line is when Sam
It
Elliott's
seems like they
character.
took the plot of the spoiled brat, like son-in-law or the son of the sister,
Mm-hmm.
and then they took the different roles and then they changed it. So you get
For
toward
sure.
this, right? And it's not bad. I guess he rescues like Ellie kind of thing. Like, see, what's funny to me is the part that does. So it's a little bit different. Decides to leave town, but discovers Charlie are in the hospital after Min burnt down the store. So the little crappy bookstore gets burnt down. So his response, unlike the scene of coping in "Are we going to go after the guys?" kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
he goes, "I'm going to go attack the corrupt sheriff
Mm-hmm.
and kill
Which
the
makes
guy
sense to me.
there."
And I kind of dig that. He is able to kind of use his detective skills that we know that he has to figure out where the drop would be and
So
what
the
they're kind of
sheriff
peddling
gets,
and why they need this.
yeah, and then the sheriff just looks at him like, dude, whatever. It's like, I'm like, you insult a law enforcement officer, and not only do you do that, you kill his right hand man.
Yeah, which you'd definitely think that you couldn't quite do that. So yeah, that's why they pretend to kidnap the one dude's daughter, the doctor lady, the sheriff's daughter. But I don't know, man. Do you see that bad guy double crossing the actual sheriff? Or does that not play odd to you? That's where they
What?
kind of lost me, but then they get me back with the craziness of the fight that's about to ensue.
So you get to the big. So like the old has the big action of he storms the mansion with like he somehow sends his Mercedes careening in, and they think they kill him, and then he basically does the stealth montage, takes all the guys down.
Because he has those bouncer skills that you know so much about. Yeah, I love that montage as well, and that totally works for me. That his
In the
windows are so
80s, it's
tinted,
like,
they
oh,
assume they
but
had
where
him.
is this guy? Spread out, find
Yeah,
him. And they just
yeah,
go,
for sure,
oh, there's a dead guy here. There's a dead guy here. What?
For sure. And then you get the fun going through the whole
Oh,
mansion thing. You
I
get the
have to say
trophy
this because
room.
this is different. I would see if they duplicate this in the other one. And this leads up before you get to the climax of this. And this is where I kind of lost me. I'm like, so um is he so in the old one, the culmination is eventually the fat guy gets buried under the polar bear. Kind of like a Hook, very reminiscent of Hook getting eaten by the crocodile in,
Very much.
you know,
Just somehow he gets attacked by this stuffed bear, and his action is to just put up his hands and scream rather than like move
run
a couple feet to the left.
backwards.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like,
But fair enough. I mean, it's the 80s. That happened a lot. Stuffed animals would come after you.
I don't know.
So I don't know. I love the mansion part, and then everybody gets involved, and then the cops come in and ask, like, did you see anything? And everyone does the whole like, I am Spartacus thing, like I didn't see anything. And then they ask, even the guy who got trapped under the polar bear, who's on the other team,
Have you ever
who
seen
also agrees he didn't see
like
anything.
Haggerty or whatever?
I dig it. Like that is a great ending. I don't know if that fight is as good to me as this Conor McGregor one is. They
Well,
do
it's
some
actually
fun
like
things
an
with this
actual
one.
fight because he slams the truck in and whatever else.
Yeah.
And the boat chase is just, I don't like
I
that.
don't really care about the boat chase, but I do kind of like how they do significantly hurt somebody with the boat. That seems to work for me. But yeah, I got to be honest. Like, I love the Conor McGregor fight. Like, it all builds up to this, and I think that fight does kind of live up to the hype for me.
You
These
forgot
guys
the
were doing
part.
some.
You forgot the part where During orders him to kill Dalton, but yeah, he snaps the son's neck.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
huh?
I mean,
That's
he's not
where it
working
all
for the
kicks
sun.
off. Hmm? Yeah.
He's not working for the sun, and he is the wild card. Like he's. I don't know. You probably aren't as familiar with It's Always Sunny, but he is like the Charlie Day character, but he is a killer. I love that. I love the wild card nature of it.
You
He
look at
could do
this, and
anything.
it's easy to miss when you see it, and I'm like, that's cold. So he kills the one guy, and I guess the father has another kid that he can give his fortune to.
Well, he'll be out of jail eventually. He can take it back over.
I mean, it's fine. And like,
But yeah, and then we get some boat chase and a boat crash, which is kind of fun. But somehow
Knox then takes the truck and slams it through the restaurant.
after they've already slammed a boat through the other side of the restaurant. So the restaurant's not in such good shape anymore. It's kind of been,
This
hit
is
on
where
both
I
sides.
think it falls apart slightly.
What, when the bar owner walks back in and is like, it's not that bad. That part is what lost you? Or
No, the part where you get towards they take a motorboat, slam it into one side of the restaurant, and I had to do a double take. I go, is that the motorboat in the restaurant?
I mean, it's only the outdoor seating area. It only partially did the inside
And then
part.
you have the truck that gets slammed through as well. So I know I'm skipping over it. And then the rich brat son gets killed. Right.
To be fair, they do have kind of big openings in the thing, so there's not a lot of structural damage, but still a lot of damage.
Yes. Then you can ignore the outlandish damage to the bar in the first one. Like, people get broken through windows. I wonder how much glass gets whatever. But the fight is really different, right? Like, I guess he didn't.
It is so much different.
So he fights him. I guess the guy's taking it, and he's like, maybe Dalton's playing whatever. Then he suddenly pulls out a bunch of tiki wood and stabs him.
And also, both of them have to be topless at this point because you got to have, these two guys.
Male gaze, yes, as the women.
Yeah, of course.
All the women, including the fugly one, watch on in nice horror.
but the fight gets awfully violent, awfully quick for
Oh
me, and
yes, it's
I dig it, and I love the way the action is being filmed in this. So, I don't know if you watch like any of the behind the scenes things or anything like that, but apparently they did like this ABCD shot thing that they would do, where like the one is, they do movie fights like they normally do, where you just kind of pull your punch, you don't actually hit them, but based on the angle, it looks really close. Then the second one is they would have them go like kind of half speed and really hit the guy. I think the third was they had a pad that they hit at full speed, and then the fourth shot is a close up from that angle of like the hand going as fast as it can, and then they use that to cut together the fight scene. So like the combination, and then a little bit of CG in there. It made for a really intense fight for me. I really like the way that they cut some of it, and then they did another part. I don't believe it's in the final scene. I think it was the first Connor fight where they're having Connor just like punch the camera essentially. Like now you're in first person actually taking the punches from him. And damn, that was pretty intense as well. When I'm looking back at like kind of some of these modern action flicks that I've watched recently, like The Beekeeper, a lot of it is that like shaky cam stuff, and they're really moving it to kind of obscure
I
some of the
have to
action.
admire the
Where
camera
this
work.
was just
The camera
right
work.
there.
Sorry. The camera work.
It's
in this
different.
one is amazing though for what this film is.
I think so. And so the first film, not to take anything away from it, so essentially a lot of the actors who are in either the bouncer position or the bad guy position, they were hired because they were stuntmen and because they could take punches. And like when Sam Elliott would kind of talk about this, he was like, yeah, I spent my time on that set getting my ass kicked. Like a lot of the fights on there were real. I don't know that they necessarily filmed it like any way that was super unique or anything like that, where I am seeing some unique ways that they filmed these fights.
So did they
But
pull?
that being said, they were intense, real fights in the first one, apparently.
So great. Do you think they pulled off the Ong Bak thing?
I'm not sure. Like, I definitely see, I do see like some elements of that creeping into this, which I dig. It seems a lot better than that shaky cam thing, where by moving the camera and kind of jostling it, you can see that they're kind of not really connecting, but it's obscuring everything that's happening. I didn't get that with this. It seemed very kind of controlled camera work, so I dig it. Did it work for you?
You know about how they did Ong Bak, right?
I'm definitely not as familiar. I've seen it, but I haven't like done a breakdown of like what they're doing with the action and that. But I think you know it better. Could you explain?
He's a very good film. They actually used Muay Thai fighters or fighters, not stuntmen. They used fighters.
Yeah, and they definitely didn't do that in this one. I mean, I guess technically Gyllenhaal is now a UFC fighter. I think he got a fight in one, and Conor McGregor is, but they were not doing real fights.
Oh yeah, but I love
definitely had choreographed fights.
See, part of it is not to sound like multi, but part of it that fell off is that chase scene in the boat scene. I'm like, oh, so they go to the boat. Okay,
for sure. I could do without the boat thing completely.
And I'm like,
that is the worst scene to it to me.
The fight in the bar, I liked. I like the old fight between Reno and the other guy, or whatever. But then Dalton. So I'll watch this name butchering. I'll watch this all.
Yeah, I keep screwing up the names too, but I agree with you. I like the old fight. I like the throat
this one is more
but
visceral,
this is on another level.
Like they actually do the fight. So
I think it's that 4-way thing that they were filming the fight scenes where it makes the impact of it look really tough. They basically make the actor like recreate each punch like 4 times so that they can do it a bunch of different ways and kind of edit around it. And
I'm going to be very
intense,
honest,
man. I could feel those fights.
Connor is a trained MMA fighter, so if he connected with somebody, you would feel it.
Yeah, I do not want to get punched by that dude, even though I may be in a different weight class than him.
Yeah, my thing is when I saw the headshot of him, when I think he's done roids, is look at his neck. Like when they show
that is what people are kind of pointing out, that and his jaw. Kind of the same with what's his name? I was going to say Zac Efron. Sorry, from the awesome wrestling movie from last year. They kind of thought that in the Iron Fist his jaw changed significantly, but
But
You're
like,
not wrong. He put on a
but
lot of muscle, and the neck and jaw thing look a little different than they used to.
it doesn't look right. Especially he has the Barry Bonds neck.
I hear what you're saying. That was kind of what people were saying about Tatum, not Tatum, Zach Efron as well. So I don't know. I don't want to spread the rumors that he is, but I
But
just know 100% he wasn't being tested as much as other UFC fighters. So who knows? Apparently,
he
we'll never
pulled
know.
off a good fight scene. That's that really good.
Oh yeah, man, I liked every one of his fight scenes. Nobody was really knocking his fight scenes as much as I heard. It was just kind of his acting. It's over the top, like even his walk, like it's really like a villain,
Oh,
like moving
he
really fast
becomes
walk.
the
Which fair enough.
well, to be fair, I guess it get the idea. I'm like, so this introduces the so it goes back to when you look at it in retrospect a little bit. So you go back to say, oh, he just walked out naked, then burned down the bar with only the guy's long coat as covering him. And I'm just like, damn.
Well, I mean, like they go further than that. Like every time they show him, instead of like stopping his car or anything like that, he just crashes whatever car he stole into a tree, I think a wall, and another one. But
Well, but you
I don't know. I love it.
understand,
He is a cartoon villain
they introduce him as the 80s over the top villain.
for sure, and he's kind of the only '80s over the top part in this film. For me, it works. I could understand where people are like, no, like this combination does not work for me. So I don't know. Your mileage may vary, but dude, this even talking about it now, I'm liking it more than I did when I initially watched it. The whole boat thing, I think it would be such a better movie without it, but I'll let it slide. I thoroughly enjoy the action pre and post boat. So I don't
Well,
know. For me, it works. It's not a perfect movie though.
and the thing about it is, right? I probably could find like maybe something, but it is a film. I was like actually going to watch it, like, and I haven't looked at any reviews on it. I'm just go, "Well, I guess I'll watch it and see." I'm just like, I was actually the. I'm not saying how I watch movies, but I heard about it. But
Well, it's on Amazon. We all have Amazon, so of course we
I'm
watch it on
like,
Amazon. Because who wouldn't watch it on
it
Amazon?
is a thing, right? Because I have not. I'm trying to do like set up the dual format here. So there's one movie, one show kind of thing. See, it's not until the 19th of next month Fallout comes out. So, and
That makes sense.
so the thing about it is, I didn't think Roadhouse, it didn't look that bad to me in trailers.
Yeah, I actually hadn't seen any of the trailers. The only thing I'd seen was I think the Drinker did a review of it, and I think somebody else. But basically, both of them were super negative. Like this is a shallow imitation of what was a great movie, and it's like okay. So I was fully expecting to hate this one too. I guess I keep getting primed on that. Maybe I enjoy the subverting of expectations when I like it and I'm expecting to hate it.
It's
But
not the best film.
no, it is not a perfect film. Far from it. But dude, if as long as you're going with an action film, I can think of like, well, everyone that I've seen recently, I did not think stacked up to this action wise. I really dug this one as far as an action movie
I
goes.
mean,
But it's an action movie. Like it's not meant to be, like Shakespeare. Although that being said, they did follow some of those amazing lines from the first one. They were able to work its way into this. Like I can't remember the actress's name, but she asks Dalton when she first meets him, like, "Did you win the fight?" And he says like the iconic line of "No one wins in a fight." Um, Elwood is able to bring that up in this one as well. I can't remember who asked him, but his response is also "No one wins in a fight." I think it is the doctor lady again. I think it's
well,
when
it's
he's in the
weird. It's
hospital getting
kind
stitched up.
of like I think those some shows. Like there's certain shows I'd watch. Some people would call it bad. Like, how would you feel about? See, this is what I'm going to run past. I kind of want to make you suffer, and I kind of want to suffer with you to watch Society.
Society. I don't think I know which one that is.
Society of Magical.
Oh, yes. So I've wanted to watch that for a while. It came and went at the theater near me, so
I
it is
could,
completely gone. But
there's a
yes, I
way we could
recently
watch
figured
it.
out where to find it to watch it, so I would be very much down.
I don't
Yeah, you want to
know.
talk about that
It
one next?
doesn't,
Let's do it.
we may, or I was going to say, and some movies I saw that I put on, like when I usually, like, what about the show Spaceman movie? I heard about that one.
Spaceman. I'm not sure. I'm thinking of Rocket Man with
No.
what's his name? The
I don't know
hilarious
if I
dude.
could sit through like the movie really well, like because I know how bad that movie is, and I wouldn't even subject my own other people to it. But like Roadhouse was a remake, but it's like you once you look at it, my overall verdict of it is it's a weird mess that kind of comes together.
I think that's how I would describe it, man. I think you described it perfectly. It is kind of a mess, but I like it. Like, I don't know why. It's just a fun action movie for me.
I
I'm
do
digging it. I
adore
think it's
the
going to be a new classic.
I adore the old. I adore what I was thinking though. Uh, no, but I was gonna say the next one. That's how I feel it is. It's like this weird mess of a film. Now the music took me out of it.
Hmm. I can't really remember the music in this one at
It's
all
like
when
a
I'm
lot of
trying to.
reggae, other stuff. Like
Oh, right. I forgot. They do have a band in there. So it is nowhere as iconic as the band from the original Roadhouse. Like, that is just amazing. And then to hear that, Swayze actually wrote and performed two of the ones on there, like, hell yeah. Um, the soundtrack to the original is iconic. This doesn't hold a candle to it. But I do like how they still have the live band playing at the bar, but it would obviously be a different type of band. This is more of like an island type vibe or, a beach type vibe. It wouldn't be exactly the same type of kind of southern rock band. So I don't know. It is definitely a
it
different
doesn't
thing.
have the iconic part of Jeff Healey.
Yeah, it is no Jeff Healey band for sure.
Now, what I
And
would
whoever's
say, hmm? Sorry,
I was just
what?
gonna say whoever's on the actual like soundtrack, I don't know if that's the band that's actually performing, but none of it's memorable. Where like I
Mm,
do feel like the band is a character in the original movie. Like
no,
they're very much present, and you know that cage that they're in, that they're performing in. I dig it, man. By far, hands down, soundtrack goes to the classic
now
has
I'm
the
gonna
better
have to
soundtrack.
recommend a series to DC, and he'll probably like it. We're gonna also have to review the Penguin.
I don't know what to think about that one. I didn't hate his performance in The Batman, but I didn't really dig The Batman as much as a lot of people did. So yeah,
Mm.
I'm interested. I will definitely check out The Penguin. But yeah, man, let's
Now
talk
you
about that
are
when it
going to
comes out.
review. Well, that's long down the road, and I do have high hopes for Beetlejuice as well.
I hope it's going to be good. And technically, it's Beetlejuice, I think. But
Beetlejuice too, yes.
but yeah, I dig it, man. I hope it's gonna be good. I love me some Keaton, but yeah, I think they brought in the now I can't think of her name, the girl from Wednesday. But yeah, I
Oh,
don't
Jennifer
know.
Ortega.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's gonna be good. I hope so, but we'll see. A lot of those Tim Burton ones, I don't know if they should be revisited, but let's see. The way they revisited Michael Keaton's Batman from the Tim Burton ones, like I don't know, that didn't really work for me. I'm kind of with you, Sparkles. I'm not thinking it's going to be great, but hopefully it exceeds my expectations. I want it to be good. I love the original, but I'm not thinking it's going to be amazing. I every time they keep going back to the well after like
Mhm.
30 years,
Now,
doesn't seem like it works. But maybe this one will be different. Maybe.
now there's a meme movie that I think you could probably watch, but I don't want to. We should review the Civil War movie.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about that one. I
No.
definitely am gonna see it. It's not on the list for the other show, so if you want to watch it, I'm
No,
totally down.
you know what? I still want to see him review uh Damsel.
Damsel. I don't think I know that one. I don't know why.
I should ask. No, but seriously, like, no. Do you really?
Oh, that one. I have seen the cover for it. I had no idea to even click on that. I think it's available
No.
on Netflix. Yeah, Netflix right now.
I don't know. I'm not going to review that because that is awful. But no, the Civil
I'm sure
War,
I'll watch it.
the Civil War movie comes out next month, and I've heard interesting things about that. That
I've
is,
heard buzz, and I've heard it's not as bad or as political as it could be, considering.
I
So
know that's okay. It's not going. How would I describe it? See, I think the next one, like, well, I'll discuss this with you. So, what do you say? Frozen Empire is
sure,
going.
I've seen that one already. I'm gonna watch it again so that we review it next week for the other podcast. But yeah, man, I've got feels on it. I think there's a lot they did wrong and some they did right. So yeah, if you want to talk about that one, I'm down.
Because that's on my list to see. That I'm gonna watch that. I
It's worth seeing, but it seems to be polarizing, and I just have a it's meh.
has he
It's
made
not
you
good or
watch?
bad to me. It's just
Has
kind of
he
eh.
made you watch Argyle yet?
Oh, dude, yes. So we just watched one of my favorite Matthew Vaughn ones. I don't know if you've ever seen Stardust. It's like an early 2000s one,
Hmm.
but it's that same dude who did Kingsman, who did Argyle. It's his like first major budget one. There's little images of his action style in there, and there's some things that he does amazingly in Argyle. Like I love the look of the smoke gas fight, but my god, the story is horrible. Like there's so much that went wrong in that movie, and it sucks. You've got so many good actors in there. You've got John Cena and Henry Cavill. Like how can that be bad? And yet it is.
But
Uh did you have feelings on Argyle? Did you end up seeing that one?
no, I've been.
Oh, dude, you might need to see that and then review it. If you liked Kingsman, it is now connected to the Kingsman
Now we are
universe.
going to have to
So
review Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver.
I am definitely watching it. I'm even going to watch part one, the long version, when that shit comes
That
out.
comes
So,
out next. That comes out on the 19th as well.
yep. So let's do it, man. I think we got a roster that we should start
So,
writing
but
down.
I'm not going to be like, all these movies I've mentioned aren't that bad. So on the 19th, also apparently, Fallout comes out as well. So, um, mm. But these aren't bad movies. Now, this is the faded, I guess. I've already seen the trailer for Scargiver. I
I haven't, man. I'm going in blind, but I got a feeling it's going to be just, well, I'd love to hear your feelings on the first one when we get to
do
that
we. So
again.
you want
But
to cover the first Rebel Moon along with the second?
sure. Well, we could do the first one and the
Make it a 2 episode.
re-release of it or whatever, and then probably a different episode on the second one if you want to.
I think
But
we
yeah, man,
could.
I'd be down. I'm gonna
Well,
watch
we
both of
might
them
switch
anyway.
that up because I'll have opening
Okay.
from the other.
Well,
But
the
yeah,
second one would definitely be more popular, and it would be striking the anvil better than rewatching the
well,
first
to
one and
be
the
fair,
re-release of it.
no. The thing is, you're not going to cover both. So either we. That's why I asked you this. Like, so Frozen Empire, I was going to say next week. You probably are
Let's
not
do it.
against it.
Yeah, no, I'm ready to talk about it whenever you are, man.
Hmm. So I have my own. I'm going to try to keep four. I mean, others. It's like, to be fair, I think it's good because Fallout. I guess Patrick wants to review Fallout. I don't know about you, but
Hell yeah, that's
Patrick.
awesome if Patrick's there.
But
Patrick's the man. Anything that he's doing, I'd be down to be involved in. But I don't know Fallout that well. I only really played one of the
I
games.
also
So
have Renowned who's willing to review it as well.
yeah, I think they would be much more informed. I would be the normie.
He
Whatever.
knows nothing about. None of them know nothing about Fallout either.
Oh, okay. I just thought I'd be more of like the tourist in that group, but fair enough.
No. The funny part about the Scargiver trailer is you thought the first one was bad. Evil Badman gets entirely rehealed entirely healed, then summons the Armada to attack the Scargiver in her village and send a fleet down from the Dreadnought.
I'm going into this one blind. I'm super happy to see it, but you can see all the tropes that he tried to sell to Star Wars and then what he brought back. But
they're going to double.
I'm looking
down.
forward to it, man.
No, it's
on my top 10 worst of last year, but then so was Argo. Or wait, Argo was this year. It didn't make my top 10.
Did not enjoy the first Rebel Moon. I just thought it was information overload.
I didn't enjoy it. There were like aspects of it that were kind of cool. I like some of the world building. Some of it was just like, okay, we're going to this location. Now we picked up this guy. Now we're going to this location. I don't know. It felt very side mission of a game to me. But I liked like the blasters and everything. I forget what they call the guns, but the fact that it has like this molten metal thing, that was really cool. I think there's little elements that were great. I hated the flaming blades. It was just, come on, like that's obviously a lightsaber. But there's little elements that I like. I wish it was done well. And maybe with the longer rated R version, it's going to be better. Maybe. But I'm not holding out much hope. I really hated that film last year.
So give people a preview as well. I do plan on seeing Kingdom of Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I think it's on our watch list for the other podcast as well. So pretty much any of them that you think you'd want to see, I've probably seen, sadly, at this point.
So I have seen a couple, right? Because then again, right, he's not exactly going to review Fury Road, but that's not till...
I need to see that one.
Yeah, Furiosa. I am going to see Furiosa.
For sure. So I don't know, man. I think you've got an awesome list of like stuff we need to see. But yeah, man, if you want to talk about it, I'm down. They're all on my list to see as well.
So to be fair, this is what I truly like to see. Like Kingdom of the... I like the actually rebirth of the Planet of the Apes kind of idea.
Again, way better than the Tim Burton ones. Yeah, I like this version of it, even if it is, what's his name, James Franco at the start. But yeah, I kind of dig these versions.
The thing about Furiosa, so next week we're going to do, I guess we decided we're going to do a Frozen Empire. See, Rags said he didn't like Frozen Empire. Frank?
I'm mixed on it. Like a lot of people either love it or hate it. And I really just think it's meh. I haven't seen too many people who are middle of the road, but a lot of people trashing it. So, yeah, man, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about it because there's parts of it that work for me and then parts of it that just do not.
There's one that I'm going to have to send you. I am going to watch this, but this isn't awful. I'm going to have to send you the trailer for it. It's called Kalki 2898 AD.
Never heard of it, man. Doesn't sound like it's in my usual wheelhouse. Oh, okay.
I thought
don't know, man. I just watched this amazing one, RRR. I don't know if you've seen that one, but that is like a badass film. I didn't even know it existed up until last week.
Show you. So yeah, no. Already move. Well, yeah, I mean renowned, eh? Wow. See, even Sparkles, you like Renown. And the question is, would Renown like you? Renown's an interesting fellow, so to speak.
He's based. I think he could put up with Sparkles. You know, she's awesome.
True. I mean, have you ever... Do you know how bad, like, Indian movies are? This is not bad. I was wondering when this was coming out.
So RRR is straight up Bollywood. Like they've got,
I know
like
it
three
is.
or four dance numbers, but man, the action in that is badass and just, I really dug it. So I don't know, maybe I'm on a kick, but I want to see RRR 2. Like there's a sequel to it. So I don't know, man. If you'd asked me a couple weeks ago, I might have been like, I don't know about that. But right now I'm jazzed to see it. Like I dug the dance numbers in these. So, or in RRR, I should say. So
for this,
I definitely want to see that trailer, man. I might be way more on board to see this than I would have a little while ago.
I don't know if this is the one. I'm gonna pray and hope, but I'm gonna have to find it. You have to look up the nature. This is like one of the weird ones. I forgot they invoked Dune in this.
Nice.
So
8 months ago, though. Wow, this isn't even new. Oh wow, they gave him the water of life. Wow. Okay, so this is like Indian Dune, dude. This is cool. Okay, I think I kind of want to see this. I kind of really want to see this, man.
I shit you not. This has been on my to watch list.
I could be wrong, but I think that one dude, yep, that is the dude from RRR. That is awesome, man. I need to see this one. It looks awesome. I hope it's anywhere near as good as RRR.
Look, it's Bollywood, but it's like Indian Dune. Literally.
Yeah, that looks
Indian
awesome, man.
Dune.
I want to see this. Dude, Bollywood Dune would be awesome.
It is. It really is. That comes out in May.
Okay, I'm excited for that actually.
I
Dude,
told
that
you
looks pretty
it
cool.
looks it's going to look really weird. Like it I don't watch bad stuff. Really, I don't. Like turd of like things. Like this film has been known about. Let me see. Look, what is that? Oh no.
Or
So the
excuse me,
movie.
maybe that is not the same dude, but he looks very similar to that guy. They've got a similar
So
stash and everything.
oh, I forgot. Shit. Oh no, we're gonna have to watch and review King Kong.
Sadly, I'm probably going to see that one. I'm not really looking
Godzilla
forward
and the
to it,
New
but
Empire. That's about out today. Shit.
ooh, I didn't know that it was already out. I kind of thought that was next week, but yeah. What's the little guy's name? Like Titanus or something? There's a little baby Kong in this one.
Hmm.
Looking forward to it, man.
But yeah, no. I guess next week we'll do Frozen Empire. Then after that we'll do King Godzilla. But unless you want to,
Nice.
let's.
Yeah, man, let's do it. That both of those sound good to me. Yeah, I was totally wrong. This does not have the same cast as that other movie at all. None of them are the same. So yeah,
I
my bad
forgot.
for
It
saying that's
looks
the
like
same dude.
I got you. Got to apologize. Bollywood cinema is not all bad.
No, I loved RR, and it had what's his name, Ray Stevenson in it as well. Like that was it was a badass movie, and I really dug the dance scenes. But I could have sworn that was the same dude who played Komaram. But yeah,
To
it
be
was not the
fair, it's
same
not that
dude.
I
My
chase
bad.
trend. I would have said because Roadhouse I saw like Frozen Empire was on my list, and I did not. But I do also have planned to see Godzilla X Kong, so that is
All right,
also
man. I know Rosales wanted to talk about it, so I will be seeing that one shortly.
this
I think
was
he's actually wants to be talking about it on Sunday, so maybe I'll end up seeing that tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, dude, I'm down to talk about the Kong.
so gray outside of your other. I mean, sorry, I apologize. I missed the psychology stuff Wednesday. My week's been weird. I'm trying to I put together. I did not want to have to redo that one. It actually got good
Yeah,
views
that
on my
always
channel,
sucks.
but
I've got a couple of those that I've gotten claimed, and it's like, okay, really? So, all right.
and plus Romeo that was here earlier saw all that. So yeah, I guess we'll leave it there and people. I guess so next week is that, and I guess well, yeah, but starting the 19th, we might be I might have to grab you another day of the week. We split up something, but I'm not gonna do so maybe do Kong afterwards. We'll see what. X-Files the next after week, I guess.
Well, hell yeah.
I don't chase trends. Because most people, that's like
They chase you.
I'm not gonna be like what Bob said. No one's covered Dune on YouTube.
What? I
Were
don't
you
know,
under
man. Like I've watched so many
were
different
you
videos on
under
it.
a rock, Bob?
It's just it a lot of people have made videos saying like it's the future of cinema. And I don't know, man. I really dig it. I love the time that they took filming it on digital IMAX and then they printed it to film and then scanned it back into digital. Because of that, the effects look so amazing. Like it
Well,
might
you
be the
know,
way that we start doing effects in the future.
no, so what I'm gonna say here is right. Bob, we all know is a normie. That's like I had to explain and coach Romeo, and he's like, "These people are terrible people." Well, they are disingenuous, but Bob was like, "Someone on YouTube." It's like no one wants to cover Dune Part Two because of strong women. Everyone was covering Dune Part Two prior to its release, and
Yeah,
right
there's a lot of people talking
after.
about the changes too, and the changes directly are due to strong women. But it kind of makes sense when you look at what
I
Frank
will
Herbert
say
said he
this.
wanted to do.
What is interesting is someone's like Eric was like, "Oh, that's because of Chani." What? Because of Chani?
I mean, kind of, but I mean, we kind of talked about this on the last episode, but like the way they leave it in the book is like, you know, she's supposed to be like the concubine, the like whatever, the side piece, where Jessica is telling her, you know, like that is our real power. We are the ones that will be remembered. And that does leave her as kind of a not so powerful woman. She's just kind of the side piece who has the kid. But in this one, she's not just that. She is the one who objects. So it is kind of more
Yep.
she's standing up for herself. She
And
doesn't
then
accept this role.
and then
So
this
fair
whole,
enough.
by the way, and then this whole myth, Bob, when he looks at videos to review, he has not gotten better since we last talked about him.
He's not honing those skills. I would have thought, you know, he would totally understand what somebody's saying and let them finish and not just, you know, keep strawmanning them as he goes and not understanding. That's a
What do you
shame.
mean?
I would have thought he's better than that.
You would have thought he changed?
I was hoping, man. You know,
Because unless
people
you
have
have been under,
potential.
here's the thing, unless you have been under an absolute rock within the last 6 months, everyone leading up to Dune Part 2 being released, even with the release of Shogun, it's actually revitalized history channels.
Damn. That's awesome, man. I'm glad to
Uh,
hear that.
it's because I think Masters of the Air did it. But yeah, bear in
Nice.
mind Bob did enjoy. That's why when I had to talk about him, he did enjoy Madam Web greatly.
Really? So I think it's a really cool concept where you could have Final Destination with superheroes. That could be amazing. What we got was not amazing at all. It just seems like a bastardization of the IP and even that concept. Like, I don't know. It just seems horrible, but it could have been so cool, especially with the actors and actresses that are
And
involved in that
and by the
and the
way,
source material.
is you cannot convince me Acolyte's going to be good.
I'm so I am going in there a little bit more open-minded than I think some are. I see the memes and stuff already with, you know, the cover, either the dog like wiping its ass going down the thing, or there's many variations on their theme of the bloody lightsaber. Um, I don't know. When I saw that teaser trailer, I have no idea what the story is going to be. But when you
Uh,
just hear it's High Republic, so it's 100 years before the prequel, and we've never really seen this time depicted before, but it's a time of peace, but someone is hunting down and killing Jedi. That sounds like that could be cool. I
I'm
don't know that the
waiting.
execution's
I
going to be
am
cool,
waiting.
but
Yeah, it's the execution. I am waiting for people to.
you think they're going to riot?
See, this is Bob transforming his content.
Hey, he's going back to the EFAP. Well, good for him. Uh, wow. Oh, is this live now? I didn't even realize this was live. Good for him, man.
He has still has 37 people who still watch him. He still has
Nice.
some of his community.
Nice. He's got more than us, so congrats on him.
It's
But
okay. I'm happy for him.
yeah, just I don't know that it's gonna be good. I don't hate. So the dude from Squid Game is like the main guy in it. That sounds awesome. I love that guy in Squid Game. I assume he's gonna be a great actor in
But he
this.
has to go to that EFAP well. That's like why I want to revisit the EVS well, but
Mm.
awful. But
Well, I'm
anyway,
trying to stick away from the whatever you
drama.
call them, the fandom initiative well. But yeah, man. I think we could cover some good stuff, honestly, where I don't know that everybody is. I feel like people might be hating this a little bit
My fear about the
dishonestly and
let me
loving
say
it dishonestly.
sorry. Here's my thing. My fear of the Acolyte, because that's the show done by Harvey Weinstein's assistant.
I get what you're saying, but like if you look at her pedigree, she's had like 10 shows under her belt. Like what's have you had like a really shitty job or like a job that you wouldn't be proud of if somebody's like, "Oh, he's the whatever guy." Like for me, I've I'm trying to think like the worst thing I did. I sold vacuums for like a week. If someone's like, "Oh, it's that vacuum seller guy." It's like, "Well, I did that once, but that's not it's not what I do." Like it was really awkward to show up to somebody's house and be like, "You want to buy this vacuum?" Like it was creepy. I only lasted a week, and most of that was training. But so granted, she was Harvey Weinstein's assistant for more than that. But
But we
you
also
know what I
know
mean? Like
that
she's
show
made a
has
lot
had
of shows
reviews.
since then.
We
So
also know
I feel
that
like that's
she
somewhat dishonest. I feel like I could be, called like that criminal. It's like, well, I'm not a criminal now. Like, yes, I formerly did shit I'm not proud of, but I don't know. Like, in a way, it kind of feels dishonest, but I don't think we should lie and say she wasn't. But she hasn't been an assistant for a long time. She's made a bunch of shows since then. But you're right. That doesn't necessarily give me encouragement that it's going to be great.
Oh, I forgot to look it back on somebody else. But I may have to check in on I'm sure somebody is but yes, that's all good. So next week we have Frozen Empire and I think I'm gonna go afterwards. But starting, I guess, Fallout, we may have to do, I guess, see X-Men only has how many weeks left and you just
So it's
supplement.
10. So we got 7 weeks left, I think, or 6 weeks left.
Mhm. Then I guess it's gonna be Fallout and another. So maybe try to get a movie. If there's an interesting movie, right? So there's like a couple. But like we'll definitely, I guess, next. So and I'll keep people in the loop.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for wanting to talk about X-Men 97 again. I don't know. I like your more informed take on it versus my apparently simping take on it. So
No,
I think it works out.
I will walk people through stuff. And I may have to look. I found a video that I may have to glance over from one of our old friends. YouTube film criticism is not true film criticism.
Ooh, okay.
You
Them's
know
might be
who
fighting words.
you know who that came from, don't you?
I don't, but I'd be interested to
He's our fat
see
Mexican
whatever.
friend.
Oh, nice. I might have to look into his saying because I'm not sure I could fully agree with that. Like, Bob used to do film criticism for a newspaper. Like, is that necessarily better than some of these
What do you
YouTubers? I
mean,
would argue
Dane? Have you
very
got your
much not.
lore mixed up now?
No, uh, Bob says that he used to actually be work for a newspaper doing film
Until he
reviews.
worked now he works at a grocery store. So
Well, I mean, he's moving up in life.
fine. But next week, and I shall be back Monday with the stream. Hopefully that I'm probably gonna be streaming Fallout 76 for a little while. At least it's so fun and enjoyable. I may do just commentary over topics, so
All right, man.
but I will see people and you have anything you need to plug till next week. Leon, I know you stay busy.
I don't think so. Just videos soon. Check out my
And
channels.
I will say, people below, if they see this in post. I usually schedule this at like 2 or 3. Probably I notice a lot of people come in later.
Yeah, and Friday's tough too. Like I think there's Friday Night Tights. Like a lot of people watch that
No,
thing, and
not
then there's a
really in
few
our
other live
season,
ones.
but I'm
No,
gonna
for
try.
sure. But
But okay, I will let you people go, and you are good. And if you have any takes, feel free. And DC, you need to watch Penguin. But
think you might like it.
all right, I will see you people next week.